Hello, everybody. Hello. Give us a second. I just realized I got to do a little audio fixing. You guys can hear me. No, they can't hear what you guys are saying. Okay, now they can. All right, we're good. We're good.
Yeah, okay, we're here. Hello, everybody. I hope
Awesome.
everyone's having a good day if off, or if you're
Yeah.
not having a day off, I hope that you're back, and I'm glad that you're here with us if you are.
Yeah. Do you ever have like those days where it's like you feel like, oh man,
Yes.
I'm gonna be so productive today, and then it's like
You
you
didn't
kind of feel
finish, but
productive, but
yes.
then nothing really
Technically,
happens.
technically, I've had a very productive 2 days because
Yeah,
my rent is paid, my electric is paid, my
that's
internet
that's
is
good.
paid. I'm just waiting
Yeah,
on the car insurance to kick in. Also,
that's cool.
Mm.
all right, how many people here own a car?
I don't own it under my title. It's technically
Okay.
my
Same.
dad's, but it's a hand-me-down
Do you pay the
from
insurance
my
on the car?
uncle. Nope,
No?
Nope.
Well, lucky you.
nope, thankfully not.
All right.
So
Well,
I
God.
do have to pay for
over
my own gas and my own
here's
food, though.
here
So
well, that's not so bad.
I know that's
Here's the
not so
thing.
bad, but
Here's the
still.
thing. Here's the thing. Over the last year and a half, my insurance has gone like I have had to renew my insurance 3 times. Every time I renew my insurance, it goes up another $50.
That's so dumb,
Yeah, what the
Oh.
fuck, dude? It's
especially since you're not even using it right now.
no, I mean no, I'm my car insurance.
Yeah, but you haven't
Like
had to
I
use it,
started
right?
off
Like, you
Oh
haven't
yes.
gotten in a massive car accidents and had to use it, right?
no, haven't.
Why the fuck would it be
I
increasing
got
then?
into apparently it's happening for everybody.
That's so dumb, though.
When I started, it was
Oh, yes.
56. It was like $56 a month, and I was like, yeah, I can afford this. And then it went up to like 100, a little over 100, and now
Double
I'm
the
at like
Same.
price.
150.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
like 3 times the price. What the
yeah,
fuck?
exactly. I'm paying 3 times what I originally paid. Now
What
I
was their
get to take
justification for that?
SR22 off of my insurance, but that's not anything extra. That's just like I don't know what their justification is, other than apparently it's something to do with inflation. And I'm like, bro, that
Sounds like an
Inflation, not even
excuse.
the first time.
Sounds like an excuse for them to
yeah.
jack up the prices.
Well, all I know is
Especially
I'm
since you
paying
haven't had to
150 a
use it,
month, and that's why I'm
and
kind of
you haven't been getting any, like, frequent accidents or anything,
no,
right?
no.
Yeah, so that's dumb.
I had one accident last year,
Yeah, but that's dumb because
but
it's
Was that
like, why
even
are they
caused by you?
increasing the
yeah, it was
price of
caused by
it?
me. I backed into somebody.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
Yeah, yeah.
okay. But still, even then,
But we both had
it's not like you're
insurance.
getting
Everything was
frequent ones.
good. Like, and
Yeah, you're
I
playing
didn't
by the
I didn't
rules and your
suffer
rates
any
still go up.
damage. I didn't suffer any damage.
Yeah,
And
that's good at least.
keep in mind, I have the lowest level of insurance. I have just straight up liability coverage,
Okay.
not full coverage. Like,
Yeah, but
yeah,
that still sucks that they're what
yeah,
was it, raising the rates on you and you're still playing by the
Like if it was
rules,
a
you know?
right,
yeah, if it was
right.
full
That's really
coverage,
dumb. That's not
maybe,
fair.
but
Yeah, if
not
it
like
was full coverage, I
liability.
would be expecting $150. But for liability, like
Yeah, that's
I'm
not
removing
fair.
SR22 from my I'm removing SR22 from my insurance because I no longer need it. So
Yeah.
an SR22 that extra thing, I have to pay that at the beginning, but I no longer need it. Like it's not something that's required by the state anymore. So I'm removing
Hmm.
that now, and then after I remove that, I won't have to pay like that extra fee because I had to pay. It's like an extra $50 at the beginning of the thing. So I was paying basically $200
Jesus, man.
1 month for my insurance because it was
Fucking
like an extra
Uh,
ridiculous.
$50 fee. But I had to have it because I didn't have my license at one point,
I
and
see.
yeah, like I had my license revoked, and I paid to
Oh,
get my
because of
license
something you
back and
did.
everything. But in order to maintain my license, I had to have SR22 insurance, and it was supposed to be for 5 years, but then Tennessee changed the law, and
Okay.
so I only had to have it for the period of time that I did not have a license, that was driving on a revoked
but you still had
license.
to pay for the full 5 years though, and then renew it.
No,
I
no, I
see.
don't.
Oh,
No, no. So I only had my license removed for about a year and a half, a little over that. And so, yeah, that time expired technically in the middle of August, but I just,
Uh,
yeah, I just waited till this month, and now I'm gonna nix it and be done.
yeah,
But like insurance
understandable.
prices are up there, and whew,
Stupid.
needs to be worked on. Well, I mean, if you want my opinion, I believe that car insurance stuff, that's just a giant racketeering scam to begin with. But
I mean, it is. Yeah.
Honestly,
just
when
It's
you
a
really think
blatant
about how much
scam.
you have to pay,
Yeah.
you
My
might as
dad
well
We're,
set
we're
the
has
supposed to be
subscription
reading, and
high.
yet I've turned this into a podcast about adulting and how much adulting sucks. Yeah.
Yeah, and I understand because my dad has had to deal with a lot of that insurance crap
Right.
for his medical and other things. So
Uh,
I'm in the same boat with you.
No, I
But
got you.
I digress. I
So,
digress.
Shem,
Yes.
have you gotten any further in the Mushoku Tensei anime since we
I
last
have
spoke?
not. I've been so
It's
lazy.
been a
How
day,
dare
man.
you?
I
No,
know.
hey,
It's been a
I should have watched
day.
at least
that
a
means
couple
nothing.
episodes
Do
today,
you
but
know
I
how
was so
many? Do you know
lazy.
how many episodes I can get through in a day, my guy? I can binge an entire anime in a day. Don't you give me that?
Yeah, I mean that's the thing. It's like I just haven't. So
Like
I will though.
he could have at least gotten through the first half of season 2.
Yeah, I could have. I was just lazy. So
Uh, Like that wasn't
I
even
won't lie.
difficult.
I mean,
I
even
w-
I like will sometimes give like up to 2 hours just for anime. So
Yeah, man.
Yeah, well, I was lazy, and plus I was working on painting minis. So
But
At
it's
least you
Shem,
were
so
at
how
least you were
dare?
honest about your laziness, you know.
yeah, I mean I can't be like, oh yeah, I watched it, and then you ask me a question about it, and then I pull something out my ass.
And then you're like,
Oh yeah, Rudy's summoned the Megazord, and Sylvie became the
and then I
head.
was like, yeah.
Uh,
Could
and
you
then
imagine if you actually did something like that? Like he summoned the
then the man
Megazord,
god
and then
became the
Richard's like,
anti-spiral.
"Oh yeah, that part. That's like the best part of the entire series. Oh man, I'm glad you got this." You're like,
Yeah,
yeah, great. It was great.
yeah. I
It's
can't
like,
do that.
what
So
the fuck is he talking about?
so no,
Okay.
I have not, but I will. I will. I still have a little bit more on my Crunchyroll things, so at least on my card that I got. So hopefully it should be good. And if not, I'll just get another one. It's not a big deal. But I digress.
Hmm.
Let me see. Is
What's
it
tangent number 2? Are we going for 3?
No. Hopefully
Maybe.
not?
I don't know.
Hopefully not. I mean, I have the book, so got the book pulled up.
No,
Hopefully we should be
well, you
okay.
said tangent number 2. Are we going through 3? Not 3 weeks of Shim reading, right? Like I think I'm reading this week.
I think so. I think it would have been either you or Moon, but Moon's not here.
Mm.
Moon is still moving.
Mm.
The Elden
And
Ring.
the moon keeps mooning along.
Arise, ye dead who yet live. I love Elden Bingus.
Elden
That actually
Bingus, you
does
say?
remind me.
Yeah, Elden Bingus and the Funky Ringus. That's my
And
favorite.
the
One of my
Funky
favorite games.
Ringus.
Yeah, it's a really good
Elden
game. I love
Bingus
it.
and the Funky Ringus. Why?
It's-
Why does none of this sound like it's real, my guy?
Sorry, it's a
We're
stupid
just
play on
making
the.
this up on the spot.
No, because somebody, one of my friends was playing Death Stranding, so somebody called it Norman Reedus and the Funky Fetus, and I thought that
Oh
name was
yeah,
really funny.
that's
So I just
Play that funky
so
feet.
Elden Bingus and the Funky Ringus.
Like that.
So my friends just call it Elden Bingus now, and when I call it Elden Bingus, they know exactly what I'm talking about.
okay. So Moon messaged me saying that he
Is he
if
busy?
you missed yesterday. Still doesn't have his computer set up from moving.
That's okay.
He said he should be back by next Sunday. I'm like,
okay.
my guy.
Sunday,
Okay.
Understandable.
Sunday.
I mean that. I'll have Konosuba's script done by then. At least the first draft.
Fascinating.
Well, is it
Okay.
more of like Sunday, as in like this is the first major thing the next major thing he'd have to be a part of, or is
Yeah.
it more of like Sunday period?
No, Sunday would be like the first thing he'd have to be a part of. Oh yeah, I forgot.
Okay,
I'm
it might be a
getting
little
that.
earlier
Over
then.
here though.
Okay,
wonder if
so
this
Oh, I
I'm
one's
did
gonna
up.
send
find
you
that.
guys. I'm gonna send you guys a thing real quick because I want you to see this. Let me
Okay.
get to. Yeah.
Also, Richie, I did find, because I also had to deal with a similar thing with my operating system, with my like drives and whatever. I did find the software that's gonna hand or
I'm putting that on my
give you
card.
the link for,
Okay.
because everything else is like apparently paid for.
Like what I'm doing right now is I'm gonna be streaming and raising money
Excuse me.
while streaming for my M.2.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Yeah,
what
and
I'm
that was
looking
one thing I noticed. I was like, why are all these like migration softwares or cloning softwares like you have to pay a yearly thing? I'm like,
well,
that's
it's not
stupid.
just it's
So I
not
had
just
to
the
look around.
M.2. It's not just the M.2. I also have to get 100 and something, like $150 in labor for getting my AC fixed on my car.
Oh, fun.
Yeah, because it's gonna take a couple of hours to get it taken care of. Because if it's the thing we think it is, if it is the thing that we think it is, it's going to uh, it's going to mean that he has to take a lot of the stuff that's in the
Internal.
way. Well, yeah, it's all internal, my guy. It's under the hood. But no, it means he's gonna have to take apart parts of the engine to get to it, and then put them all back together afterwards, just to fix one thing because of where it's placed. It's behind the engine.
Ugh.
Yeah, it's really stupid. And it probably is this one thing, and if that's the case, that means that everything has been backed up, and it's causing me not to get the necessary pressure that I need for the AC to work, and that's why I haven't had AC in my car for forever. And with how hot it is and how hot it's getting out there, I can't afford that, man. I need my AC.
I mean,
need
only
some
rolling down the
AC.
window and getting up to speed can only help you so much.
Right. All right, guys. Last but not least, if you did not know, Oshinoko Volume 7 is now out. The Volume 11 of the Beginning After the End light novel series will come out on Friday. Let's see what else has come out. Volume 9 of Solo Leveling's manhwa is now out. Reincarnated as a Dragon Hatchling is now out. And I'm scrolling through. I'm trying to find one more thing because I know. Those are all digital orders. That's why. I need to go to physical orders real quick.
Yes.
Things that I've bought that I need to. The Volume 6 of the Beginning After the End comic is released. It dropped on the 21st, or the 20th, rather. And Volume 19 of that time I got reincarnated as a slime, which I need to read and haven't yet, but that is out. It will be will be good. It has been out for a couple of weeks, so if you'd like to get your hands on that, please do.
Yes.
Oh my God, there's a gaming recliner chair.
That's kind of cool.
Are you looking at Amazon just for chairs?
Does it turn around a lot?
No, I'm not. Hang on one second.
Actually, I think I have found like a similar thing, but it was like $100. Was it $100?
That's pretty
Or a little
cool.
over 100? Because I'm actually looking at a new chair myself. Because this one is from 2018.
Oh my
It's definitely showing
No,
its
I
age. It
wasn't
needs to
looking
go.
for chairs. I was looking through my list of things that I'd ordered because I wanted to give a quick update on some stuff. And when I got to the bottom, it showed like some gaming chairs, and one was like a full-on reclining chair. And I'm like, oh, that's dope. I want that.
That's pretty sick. Yeah. That's pretty sick.
So with those quick updates from the light novel, anime, and manga world,
yes,
let's go ahead and get into it. Guys, if you are here on... Oh, now I get pages. Thank you for that. If you are reading on Kindle, open your Holy Books of Mushoku Tensei to page 183 out of the 256 we have left. We are on chapter 7, correct? Chapter 7? Yes.
Yep.
Chapter 7 of Book 2. This is Book 2 of Mushoku Tensei, your Holy Book 2, page 183. You should be looking at the dots. Now, if you're reading it physically, I don't know specifically where we're at. So, I can't really help you there. Anybody here reading on Bookwalker?
Not here.
Okay. Everybody reading on Kindle then? Okay.
No, I'm on Bookwalker.
Okay, what page are we on Bookwalker?
We are on 284.
Awesome. All right, so we're going to go ahead and get started now. and we'll pick up with the 3 asterisks. That's where we ended, right? It's once the party started.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
This is gonna be weird because this is just gonna take me back to like old school. Because up until a certain part, like I passed where the anime was in reading. I read on my own on Saturday afternoons. I would read for 4 hours Mushoku Tensei on Fat Dog. Yeah.
Okay.
So now I'm reading with you guys, so you can discover all of this cool stuff. All right.
Neat.
Once the party started, Eris's mouth went off like a machine gun, talking about the cooking and the staff. I gave short responses as I listened, but midway through, her words began to slow. Perhaps it was the exhaustion. She spoke less and less, beginning to mumble until she finally dozed off. I wasn't sure if it was because she was exhausted from the excitement or because her nervousness had finally lifted. Either way, Ghislaine carried Eris off like a princess so she could sleep in her own room. Sleep well, I thought. Soros and Hilda returned partway through the party. Soros turned sullen after Philip intervened when he tried to give me alcohol. Hilda poured the old man some instead, and eventually he got utterly smashed. He left for his own room with a drunken smile and a red tinge to his cheeks, laughing merrily. Hilda leaned over and gave me a final kiss goodnight before retiring to her own quarters. Most of the food had been polished off by that point. The maids cleared the last of the empty plates with sleepy looks on their faces. That left only Philip and me. For a while, Philip just quietly knocked back his drink. Wine, I guessed. I learned during Eris's birthday that each region of the Asura kingdom had its own form of alcohol. In this area, it was largely made from wheat, but wine from grapes would be prepared for special occasions. Philip hadn't talked much during the party. He had admonished Soros and Hilda, but otherwise spent most of the time watching over us, with a smile on his face. It was now, when the two of us were left alone, that he let the words flow. I lost the battle to become head of the family. Right now, Eris is my only child. So it was going to be a serious conversation. I adjusted my posture and gazed intently at him. Don't you wonder why Eris has no brothers or sisters? I nodded quietly. A little. I was curious, but I was never able to ask about it. The truth is, it's not that she doesn't have any. She has an older brother and a younger brother. Her younger brother is probably about the same age as you, I think. Was he killed in the battle to become head of the family? Philip looked at me shocked. I'd asked the question a little too directly. No, of course not. He's not dead. He was taken to the imperial capital by my elder brother as soon as he was born. Taken? What do you mean? I pressed. On the surface, he took him there as an adopted son to let him study. The truth is, it's a tradition, I suppose. Philip explained the Boreas family's tradition, one that was connected to the battle to become the head of family. Soros had 10 sons. Among them, only 3 were exceptional. Philip, Gordon, and finally James. It sounded like the name of a certain locomotive. To decide who would be the head of family among these 3, they were made to compete. The result was that James would become the next head of the family. Philip and Gordon had lost. During the first half of the power struggle, James first secretly pulled Gordon and the daughter of the Euros Grey Rat family together. He maneuvered things so neither one would know the other's background, then fanned the flames of their love. Gordon became too focused on that romance, and just as James had planned, married into the Euros branch of the family. That effectively cut off his path to becoming head of the Boreas family. In the latter half of the struggle, Philip and James were evenly matched. They continued to fight by manipulating people from behind the scenes, but it wasn't like some dramatic development occurred. The battle simply ended with Philip's defeat. It was a matter of influence. James was 6 years older than Philip, widely known throughout the capital, and had served as a minister's aide. He had connections, money, and, more than anything, political power. Philip was an excellent candidate, but that 6-year gap was nearly impossible to overcome. Once James became the head of the household, he made Philip the mayor of Roa. At that time, Philip had yet to give up. He tried to formulate a comeback strategy, but the lands in Fatoa were largely rural, making it difficult to build political power. While Philip was breaking his back trying to do what he could, James stayed in the capital and built himself a rock-solid position as minister. That made the gap between them impossible to bridge. Then, when Philip's son was born, James claimed him as an adopted son. Isn't it a bit tyrannical of him to take all of your sons from you? No, it's fine. That's the tradition. In the Boreas Grey Rat line, all sons born into the family were raised under the care of the head of the household. This prevented those who had lost in previous power struggles from participating in future ones. It ensured they would not involve themselves to boost their own son's influence in the next struggle for power. This was a common issue, a problem that occurred all over Asura Kingdom. Apparently, the Euros family, which Gordon married into, had a different tradition. But Philip obeyed the Boreas tradition and surrendered all his sons to James when they were still young and had no awareness of the world. The only father they would recognize was James. The situation would have been reversed if I had won. The way Philip calmly accepted the situation made me think he may not have been Sora's true-born child after all. The same could not be said for his wife. Hilda was from a normal noble family. Having her newborn baby taken from her was something wasn't something she could so calmly accept. In the aftermath of losing her oldest son, she fell into depression for quite a while. Once Eris was born, she seemed to recover, but when Eris's younger brother was taken, she became unstable again. She hated you. After all, why did the son of an outsider get to parade around here as if he owned the place, when her own sons couldn't even do that? I had already figured out that she hated me. At least now I knew she had a reason for it. Plus, our only remaining child, Eris, turned out to be a tomboy instead of a lady. I thought all hope was lost. What do you mean by that? It would be difficult to try to use Eris to overthrow James. By overthrow, did he mean... he still hadn't given up on becoming the head of the family. But lately, after seeing you, I've started to feel a little bit of hope. Huh? Your acting is good enough to deceive even Hilden, my father. So he noticed I was putting on a show, but the word deceive didn't have a very nice ring to it. I just tried to act in a way that wouldn't make things unpleasant. Philip continued. You understand the importance of money, and you know how to be diplomatic, and you don't balk at the necessity of putting yourself in harm's way to win over people's hearts. He was probably referring to the kidnapping incident or the fact that I had stuck around even though someone, my age, Eris, was punching me all the time. But most of all, Eris has grown tremendously under your supervision. Philip sounded like he never could have imagined this. He had heard how exceptional I was from Paul, but as the son of someone who spent all his time flipping skirts at my age, he probably thought I would be the same type of delinquent. He figured something interesting might happen by pitting his unruly daughter against me, like observing the chemical reactions of a science experiment. Apparently, that was about as far as he'd imagined it. I can still remember the day when Paul came running here crying, Philip muttered to himself. I asked Philip to explain. Who said Paul came crying because he was going to get married, but... Who said Paul came crying because he was going to get married but didn't have the money to afford a place and needed a stable job. Yet, at the same time, Paul didn't want to return to his noble family. Apparently, he got on his knees for my sake. Something he didn't do even when the incident with Lilia happened. Well, that was in the past, anyway. Wouldn't Eris have found a way even without me here? Found a way? Of course not. Even I thought Eris was hopeless. I thought she had no future as a member of a noble family. That was why I hired Ghislaine to teach her swordplay so that she might at least become an adventurer. After he said that, Philip recounted several of his past episodes with Eris, every single one painful to listen to. So, how about it? Will you marry Eris and help me seize control of the Boreas family? If so, I'll tie her hands and put her in your bed right now. That was a tantalizing offer. My mind conjured the image of getting a pop-up screen like in a game saying, "Are you sure you want to dispose of this, your virginity? Once it's gone, it will be gone forever." No, wait. This is a joke. Read the previous line again. I commanded myself. Seize control of the Boreas family? What are you trying to make me do? I'm 10. You're also Paul's child, are you not? I'm not talking about that. I will be the one to seize control of the family. All you must do is take the seat. If you want women, I'll give them to you. Did he really think I would listen just because he said he'd give me women? Paul's bad reputation was truly loathsome. I'll pretend you said all this because you're drunk. Philip laughed quietly when I said that. That's right. Go ahead and do that. All that stuff about the Boreas family aside, you're free to pursue whatever relationship you want with Eris, you know. I have no responsibility for her. Even if I did marry her off, she would surely come right back. I would prefer to hand her over to you instead. Another muted laugh. If he married Eris off, she would probably punch her husband to death within a couple of days. I could picture it easily. Just as easily as I could picture myself dancing to Philip's tune if I took him up on that offer. All right, it's about time to sleep then. Yes, good night, I responded. So ended the birthday party that Eris had staged for me. When I returned to my room, Eris, who should have been asleep, was sitting on my bed. Oh, welcome back. She was wearing a red negligee, extremely sexy. I was sure she had never worn anything like this before. What was going on? Also, wasn't she supposed to be asleep? What are you doing here at this hour? When I asked, her cheeks burned red and she averted her eyes. I thought you would be lonely by yourself, so I was going to sleep with you tonight. Apparently, she was still worried about what I said during the party, about whether my parents were coming. After all, she was clinging to her parents at age 12. Maybe imagining being without them for 3 years spurred her into coming here. No, unlikely as it seemed, it was possible this was Hilda's idea. Maybe she roused Eris, forced her to change, and sent her over here. I took a second, hard look at Eris. Her body had not yet fully matured, but it was beginning to. Probably because of all the sword practice, her arms and legs were well toned. Whether it was because she was taller than the average girl or the negligee she was wearing, she also looked more grown up than usual. Eris was already 12, after all. She was barely entering my strike zone. My body was still immature as well. I had yet to hit puberty, though it would surely be upon me in a few years. Maybe then I would welcome the opportunity to pop my cherry with this spoiled tsundere lolly. God damn it, Rudy. This is half the reason why I don't like reading Mushoku Tensei, because I have to read this stuff. All right. The moment that thought crossed my mind, I felt like that 34-year-old homeless, jobless pervert again. I saw an image of him with his face covered in acne and lips set in a disgusting smile, swooping down on Eris. I snapped back to my senses. No, I couldn't. I couldn't touch her. That would be playing right into Philip's hands. I would be planting my foot right in the middle of an intense power struggle. The same one Philip had already lost and Paul had run away from. I didn't want to get involved in something that seemed to have so few payoffs, so I just prayed I could get out of this peacefully. She loathed my habitual sexual harassment, so maybe I could say something to the effect to scare her off. That's right. I'm feeling pretty lonely, so if you don't leave, I might do something perverted to you. Or so I thought, but then I received an unlikely response. You can do it, just a little bit. Seriously? You're really being bold today, Eris. You're really being bold today, Eris. How's an old man like me supposed to resist when you put it like that? What to do? I debated internally and finally decided to take her up on her offer. Just a little. I sat beside her. The bed let out a small creak. If I were still my previous self, I would have surely let out a much larger groan, would have surely let out a much larger groan, effectively killing the mood. I wasn't thinking anymore, not about any of that complicated stuff. This was playing into Philip's hands? Fine then. 3 years ago, Eris had been so soon, but now she was finally showing me her dede side. How could I refuse when she was offering herself willingly? At times like these, it was best to just accept the risk and take the plunge, right? No, you fucking dumbass, it's not. You're stuttering, I said. That's just your imagination. Really? I petted her head. Her smooth hair, or her hair was so smooth. Even though this was a high noble family, there was no bath in the manor, so it wasn't as if you could wash your hair every day. Her hair was normally coarse and rough from spending every day outside, practicing swordplay from morning until dusk. She must have cleaned it up today for me. For me? You look so cute. What are you talking about all of a sudden? She looked away, her face red to her ears. I wrapped my arms around her shoulder and planted a kiss on her cheek. Her body went stiff, but she didn't try to run. Ah, so she really is okay with this, I thought. She was definitely the type to run if she didn't like something. I'm going to touch you now. Unable to hold myself back, I reached for her chest. The lumps were still small, but they were definitely breasts. Being able to touch these was proof she had given me permission. Not like all the times before when I had reached out in trepidation, fully prepared to be punched as I groped them. It was through a layer of clothing, but there was no doubt that I had true lolly breasts in my hands right now. It wasn't pleasure that made her hum. I was sure she was just reacting. She was just realizing how embarrassing. Jesus fucking Christ, man! I'm trying to guess at the words, and I shouldn't be. She was just realizing how embarrassing what we were doing really was. I knew that. She was watching me with her lips clamping tightly together, tears in her eyes, as she struggled to tamp down her embarrassment and confusion. Hey, Rudy, you big fat idiot. That's a red light. It means this is as far as she's willing to go. Stop. But of course, you're a moron, so you won't. You let your dick do the thinking because you're like, I have to lose my virginity. It's the most important thing. It is not. It is really
But she
not.
gave me permission.
No, she gave you partial permission, and she can revoke said permission at any point in time.
Yep.
Yeah. I stroked her back comfortingly. See, that part's okay. Thanks to all her sword training, it was firm with muscle. Not as much as Ghislaine's, of course, but, well, toned and smooth. Eris snapped her eyes shut and grabbed my shoulders like she was clinging to me. Did this perhaps mean she was giving me the okay? No! No, it's the actual opposite. She was right? If so, I was going to go the whole way right now. With what? You're 10!
For real. Your butthole.
Yeah. Okay. Let's do it then, I thought. I reached my hand toward the inside of her thigh. This would be my first time ever touching a girl there. It was warm and soft, of course, but firm and muscle. No! She shoved me away, then slapped me across the cheek loud and hard. I landed on the floor with a thump after being kicked. She continued her attack, the sounds of her blows filling the room, rendered completely defenseless by my own confusion. Your confusion? I took the full force of her attack. Once it was over, I looked up at her, flat on my back. Eris was standing over me. Her cheeks were red. She was glaring at me. I told you just a little, didn't I? You moron! The door was left hanging wide open after she kicked me and marched out. I stared blankly at the ceiling. The feverish heat that had taken over had dissipated completely. This is why you're a virgin. I was filled with self-loathing. I completely misread the atmosphere. I went way too fast. halfway through, I forgot that she was still a child. I completely forgot myself. Oh, damn it. What were you thinking? After playing so many erotic games, I thought maybe I understood how the heroines felt. No, my guy, those are such complete one-sided fantasy. See, this is why I'm saying Rudy is to blame for his decisions, but Rudy is not completely at fault for not understanding like how human interaction is supposed to happen, because he hasn't had genuine human interaction since like early high school. This man just does not comprehend human interaction.
Yeah.
His social skills are negative.
Nilch. Yeah.
Yeah. So now he's
Zilch.
having to learn. Dude, as a baby was lusting after the maid and wearing panties. This kid has to learn social abilities and skills and all that in this life. He's like,
Yep.
I know all these things. And it's like, yeah, but
You
all
hope
the
you
things
don't.
that you know, you should not know. Like, this is
Yeah.
not the way. If your sex
Yeah.
education is hentai games, my guy, you are totally in the wrong, because the Japanese have a very, very specific way that they think their women should behave. And especially in porn, there's like this narrative for how a woman is supposed to be, and she's supposed to be like kind of submissive and into it. There's more rape porn in Japan than I've seen in any other place, my dude.
It's really bad.
Like, it's bad. Like, so when I say I'm not excusing Rudy's behavior, I'm just explaining the cause of it. It's because this is what he thinks sex is.
yeah,
and
I mean, as long as
also-
you're not defending it.
Well,
That's
also, he's never had a genuine sexual interaction in his life at this point. Like, he's never been with a girl. He doesn't know what to do. This would be, in effect, him losing his virginity over the course of 2 lifetimes. And because
Previous life
his
basically
whole
got halted because of that whole accident, or not that whole
because of his
bullying
whole
incident.
experience with sex being in this unobtainable fantasy thing that he thinks is how sex is actually supposed to go. He treats it like a sim where if I say the right words, I get to put my dick inside her. That's why sex is such a big fucked up thing to him. And like, as disgusting as I find this, I gotta praise the author for this, because he could have taken this the complete pervy route, and instead, no, he's showing this is not okay. Eris punishes him for this, right?
Good.
Like, he shows the other side of that. He doesn't just show horny dick time. Like, the author straight up puts out, this is not okay, but this is what fucked up humans are. And again, Rudy, relatively tame compared to the nobles. I mean, shit.
Yeah,
Rudy
the
is
nobles are all
as
awful, too.
as fucked up as this is. Still gonna tell you right now, as fucked up as this whole situation is, still better than anything Paul did.
Mhm.
Paul
Yeah.
was way
I don't think
worse.
that- yeah.
Yeah. I'm not
It's bad.
I'm not forgiving or dismissing or excusing anything that
Right.
Rudy is doing right now. I am just giving people more context. Like,
Mm.
what Rudy is doing is bad. It's terrible.
Yeah.
And yet, in the ways of this world, my guy, his own parents set this whole thing up. They were throwing their daughter at him and saying, please fuck her for my ambitions.
Oh.
Yeah. So there's plenty of blame to go for this situation. Obviously, Rudy needed to control himself and actually think more, but he doesn't have that processing. You know, he hasn't had to truly fight his dick. And for anybody that's listening that's female, yeah, it's not a joke when we say we have 2 brains. When you get really, really horny, it's hard for you to process rational thought. It takes time and practice. You have to get used to being in that state and pulling yourself out of that state so you can be more logical. That's why there's a term, post nut clarity, because as soon as you did it, you're like, oh, my dick wandered me into places that I probably shouldn't have gone to.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, I think there's plenty of times where we've all gone and done something that like in the heat of the moment we're like, this is cool, and then afterwards we're like, I can't believe I just fucking did that. That's kind of
Yep.
what post nut. Now that's not always what post nut clarity is. It's not, but usually when somebody refers to it, that's kind of where we're at. So this is an essential, in essence, this is kind of Rudy's first taste of post nut clarity, because it's not necessarily that you had to get yourself off to suddenly realize, oh shit, what have I done? It's just the act of being pulled out of that state of mind where your dick has control.
Mm.
So there we are. But yeah, that's the explanation for like this behavior is because he doesn't know anything. He was just raised on gaming sims as like his whole social interaction thing. Like he doesn't know. Like for God's sakes, at 5 years old, he's staring at Roxy's panties, wanting to fuck her, and he stole her panties and he sniffs them and all. Like Rudy's fucked up because of this, and he's gonna continue doing fucked up shit.
Mm-hmm.
And eventually he's going to start learning. He's like, yeah, I can't do that. I will tell you this. If you've been watching season 2, Rudy's not wearing panties anymore. I mean, he still worships the panties that Roxy
They're
left
still there,
that
yeah.
he has. But that's less about it being the panties and more about it being something that he has of Roxy's.
Mm-hmm.
Anyhow.
Oh yeah. It's that in the figure, right? If I remember.
Right. In my previous life, I used to watch thick-headed protagonists be oblivious, and I would just think to myself, just hurry up and make your move. Then it'll be over. What I'd just done was the result of that thinking. As a player, you could see the heroine's internal dialogue. The protagonist, meanwhile, had no idea what she was thinking. That was why most protagonists were aware something like this could happen, even if they knew the other person liked them. Even if they knew the other person liked them. So they took their time and slowly developed the relationship instead. Yeah, that's the other thing. His whole thing is like, I don't give a fuck about all this dialogue. I just want to get to the fucky. And it's like, nah, dude, that's not how that works. You're not able to suddenly read her mind and know that she's uncomfortable with all of this. Like you have to kind of intuit. And for somebody with no social skills, it's kind of hard to pick up on tiny clues, especially when you're in that mindset because you just see what you want to see. He's like, "Oh, I'm getting the green light." And I'm like, "No, you're not. You're getting flashing red light, my guy. It is amber red. Like the color that she's about to show when she turns you into fucking minced beef." You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he just doesn't know any better.
Exactly.
Sadly.
And I like talking about this because we get to have a conversation about it. But and we will by the time we get done with this. I think we're kind of close to the end of the chapter. But once we get there, we'll have a discussion about this. All right. I was being completely short-sighted compared to them, especially after I'd had that conversation with Philip. What was I thinking? Saying I would pretend he only said all that because he was drunk? The things I said and the things I did were in complete contradiction. I knew what would happen if I had sex with Eris. We would sleep together, she would get pregnant, we would get married, a grand series of events that would make me an official member of the Boreas household. Or, after all that, would I come to hate the ugly power struggle that followed so much that I would run away? Would I plan not to take responsibility for my actions? Was I just going to pass it off as a one-night stand? Foolish. I would no doubt end up going after Eris every night. My sex drive was quite strong in my previous life, and I had a feeling, without even looking at Paul as an example, that it might be the same for my current body. There was no way I would be satisfied by a one-time thing. She may have come to me today, but the next time, I would be the one going to her. Philip and Hilda surely hoped for that. No one would stop me. I would take the bait of temporary gratification and fall into the filthy trap that was the Boreas household's inner power struggle. The staff hand standing in the corner of the room caught my eye. I couldn't forget Eris's feelings either. The money may have come from Philip and Soros, but she was the one who had planned the party for me and came up with the idea of giving me that staff. She was the one who worried over our conversation at the party and came here to comfort me tonight before I fell asleep. She thought about me all day long today. Yet a moment ago, I'd been about to violate her out of lust. There was a girl who genuinely considered my feelings as a person, and I tried to have my way with her. Remember how happy she looked when she was talking with that maid before? You just tried to trample all over that. I was a piece of crap. I had no right to judge Paul. I had no right to lecture anyone. I was a piece of crap in my previous life, and nothing had changed in coming to another world. And there's the whole through line of this series, is the whole, the more things change, the more they stay the same kind of notion. It's kind of true, because some things you do change, but like when you're changing, you don't notice it because it takes so long to do. But like anybody, the funny part is anybody that saw him from his previous life now wouldn't recognize him. And I'm not talking about physically, but like the way he behaves is still different. But also there's a lot of that shit and a lot of that baggage that he's still carrying over from his previous life. But that's kind of the reason why I like this story, because nobody in here is perfect. No one is perfect. They all have their insecurities, their flaws, their issues. Like, they're real fucking people. And that's the other part of this. He doesn't get reincarnated and then suddenly stop being a loser, trash human being. He's still that, and he has to overcome all of this shit in spite of that. All right. It's a good story. It's just we're in the beginning where he's still a really shit person. Tomorrow, I would gather my things and leave. I would go die on a roadside like the garbage I was. I suddenly realized that Eris was standing in the doorway. Only part of her body was visible, her face peeking out from behind the frame. I panicked and tried sitting up. No, stand. No. Should I just prostrate myself? I'm sorry about what just happened. I balled up like a turtle, prostrating myself before her. I peeked up. Eris's gaze was drifting as she fidgeted, her legs brushing against each other with the motion. Then she slowly whispered, "Today's a special day, so I'll make an exception and forgive you." She forgave me. Besides, I already know that you're a pervert. Who the hell told her that? My guy, you did. So many fucking times. No, it was true, though. Yeah. I was the one. I was the pervert. It was my fault. Everyone look over here. It's me, the pervert. But it's still too early for us to do that. So 5 more years. In 5 years, once you're grown up properly, then... But until then, hold it in. I slumped forward. Well then, I'll be going back to bed. Bye, Rudius. Good night. I'll see you again tomorrow. After that choppy, disordered farewell, Eris vanished from view. I could hear the rhythm of her footsteps as she took off. I waited until the sound faded completely before I shut the door. I slumped against the door and slid down. Thank God. I was glad today was my birthday. I was glad today was a special day. I was glad I didn't do something worse than what I did. And yes! 5 years from now, I would... 5 years from now, a definite promise from Eris. A promise. All right. No more insincere advances until then, I told myself. 5 years. I would be 15. It was still a long time away, but I could hold out. If there was a guaranteed prize at the end, I could work hard. Until then, I would be a gentleman. Not a pervert, but a gentleman. I would stop all the sexual advances. Wine only had a depth to its taste after you let it sit for years. A charged attack had more power behind it the longer you let it build up, after all. I would become the kind of man that wouldn't yield no matter what kind of temptation I encountered. Bullshit. This time, I would aim to be that thick-headed protagonist. I would hold down the A button and not release it until those 5 years had passed. That was the promise I made to myself. Lolita, good. Touching, bad. Wait, 5 years from now? The thick-headed protagonist? An image of Sylphie's pale, angelic face and sweet smile suddenly popped into the back of my head. The next morning, I woke up to crusty underwear. Apparently, I had accidentally released the A button. Oh well, I would just have to start again tomorrow. My dude, how are you coming at 10? Like, how are you jizzing at 10, my dude?
Yeah, that's really weird.
Yeah.
That's
Very
honestly, I don't think you
carefully,
can.
apparently.
Yeah, you can't do that. That's biologically
Improbable.
abnormal.
Yep.
Yeah. That's ugh.
All right, here we go.
It's
I had
bad.
a word with the maid who came to collect our laundry and asked her to keep quiet about this so Eris didn't find out. She giggled with a look of mirth in her eyes. It was a little embarrassing. Name, Eris B. Greyrat. Occupation, granddaughter of Fatoa's liege lord. Personality, sometimes violent, sometimes meek, depending on the situation. Does, listen properly. Reading, writing, almost perfect. Arithmetic, capable of doing division. Magic, can't do any spells without chanting them. Intermediate tier spells also a challenge. Fencing, sword god style, advanced tier. Etiquette, currently studying difficult imperial court etiquette. People she likes, grandfather, Ghislaine. Person she loves, Rudius. All right, there we go. There's chapter 7. Fuck. Hate that chapter. Hate that chapter. All right. Any
Yep,
other
chapter 8.
commentary? Any other commentary y'all want to go before we jump into chapter 8?
Nope. Not at the moment.
Really? Oh,
No, nothing
Yeah,
nothing huge that we haven't already
yeah.
discussed earlier.
okay.
Yeah.
Just figured because I did most of the discussion, I figured I'd let y'all take over on that one. Kind of
Yeah, I
discuss
mean,
that more.
honestly, I feel everything that you've been saying was on my mind. It's like, it's still the
He's
early
still a
phase.
little shit.
He's
Yeah, it's still the
dead.
early phase.
He's dead. All right.
Yeah,
We got about
Like
an
he
hour
doesn't
left.
know any better, but still.
yeah.
Welcome, guys, to page 199 out of 256. We are not far from the end. We're 80% of the way done. I think we can finish this book today, possibly. All right.
The whole book? Yeah, probably.
Maybe.
I can see it.
Chapter 8.
I see you can do it.
The Turning Point.
Yeah.
Here we go, guys. We're back at Turning Point 1.
Mm.
Just wait, man. You're about to hit Turning Point 3.
Yep.
All right.
Yep.
Shit, here we go again.
Sharon Kingdom.
Mm.
Roxy McGurdia looked out the window with her brows knitted. The color of the sky was strange. Brown, black, purple, and yellow. A change of colors one didn't usually see. And yet she had seen these colors somewhere before. What is it, I wonder? The hues were familiar to her, but she had never seen the sky like this before. The only thing clear was that this wasn't a natural phenomenon. The most likely explanation was magic that, for whatever reason, had gone out of control. The scale of it was such that he could see it whirling even from a distance. Then she remembered the way it shone. She had seen this magic at the University of Magic. The light looked like summoning magic. That direction. In the east, Osra Kingdom? Don't tell me it's Rudius. She remembered the boy she had once taken as a pupil. That boy who, at the tender age of 5, produced a storm while utterly composed. Now he would be 10. At half his age, he had complete control of his bottomless pool of mana, so it was possible he might do something like this. In his most recent letter, he wrote of his difficulty studying summoning magic. Maybe he had somehow obtained a book on it, or perhaps found a teacher. "You're wide open!" As she was deep in thought, someone threw their arms around from behind as her breasts were grabbed. She felt something hard press against her thighs. Roxy was fed up. No matter how he groped her, the thickness of her robes masked everything. Besides, even if he got pleasure out of doing this, the only thing she felt was displeasure. Raging flames consume my body. Burn in place! Gah! The force of the flames that covered her body sent the person behind her flying. She still couldn't cast spells without chanting them at all, but she had shortened the length of her spells greatly in the past 5 years. When she learned that Rudius was teaching his own pupils to cast spells without chanting, she decided to practice shortening her own incantations. It hadn't been easy. Just how much was that boy genius expecting from his pupils? Not everyone was as blessed with talent as he was. Roxy turned and gazed at the boy collapsed on the floor. "Your Highness, you can't come up behind a woman and just start groping her chest." "Roxy! Were you trying to kill me? I'll have you thrown in prison!" Sharon Kingdom's 7th prince, Pax Sharon, was a kid with a bad attitude who had just turned 15. His bad behavior was endearing at first, but lately he had developed a real interest in sex and would make sexual advances toward Roxy every afternoon. "My apologies. I didn't realize such a weak attack would be fatal. You must have the constitution of an insect." "Criminal disrespect! I won't forgive this. If you want my forgiveness, then roll up your robes and let me see your panties." "I'll pass." He had already put his hands on multiple maids, leaving the king troubled over how to handle the situation. Now, it seemed, he had turned his attention to his curt household tutor. Just what about a rude girl like her did he find appealing? Roxy didn't understand. Still, no matter how much he came at her, she had no reason to obey his commands. According to the contract she made with the country's governing party, no matter what selfish demands the prince made, it was up to her discretion on how to handle it. There weren't many living in this castle that would obey his orders directly. Besides, he was the 7th prince. He was low in the line of succession, so he had next to no authority. In fact, if you looked at the privileges afforded to them, Roxy was in a much higher position as an imperial court magician. The prince tried a different approach. "Roxy, I already know. I know that you have a lover." "I see. And just when did I manage to do something as incredible as finding a lover?" she replied to his sudden gibberish, tilting her head. A lover? She did want one at some point, but she had yet to meet her ideal match. Even if she did, with the way she looked as a member of the meagered race, he surely wouldn't reciprocate. She had already given up. The prince was odd himself, which was probably why he wanted a taste of her body, even if just once, but Roxy had no intention of being so easily seduced. "I slipped into your room and found all those letters you had piled up in the back of your shelf. I don't know what kind of backwoods peasant he is, but with my power, I could have him crushed. If you don't want to see him face a cruel execution, you better become my woman." So this was his other method. He would take hostage the lover of the person he was interested in, then demand the object of his affection submit to him to keep their love safe. After that, he would take her in front of her lover just so he could feel empowered by dominating another person. He had no such authority, yet he was still the prince of a country. He had some troops of his own that he could do what he wanted with, and there was a rumor that he'd taken one maid's lover hostage before. Such poor taste. All he does is creep me out, Roxy thought. Glad I don't have a lover. All those letters were from Rudius. Rudius, who was a respected pupil and not her lover. "Feel free to do so," she told him. "What? I really will do it, you know. If you want to apologize, you better do it now. If you do it now, all you have to give me is your body. The prince clearly wasn't thinking. He didn't even know Rudius's location in the first place. Based on his attitude, he hadn't read the contents of any of those letters either. If you can actually succeed in doing something to Rudius, then you can have your way with my body. What are you even acting so confident for? You should know what kind of power I have. Of course she knew. She knew that the little bit of power afforded to him as a prince of the royal family was barely worth snorting at. Rudius is under the protection of the Boreas family, an elite noble family in Asura Kingdom. Boreas? As if nobles could stand up to the authority of a member of the royal family. He didn't even know the names of the elite families in Asura Kingdom. That realization prompted a sigh from Roxy. Had the other tutors even taught him anything? As the four great regional liege lords, the Notos, Euros, Sephiroth, and Boreas families, were of great renown. When the Asura Kingdom entered battle, they were the ones standing on the front lines. They had been military men for generations upon generations. Besides, members of those elite noble families might occasionally travel to Sharon on diplomatic engagements. Those names were definitely worth remembering. The country of Asura is 10 times the size of Sharon. To take the child of an elite noble family on some baseless suspicion and escort them to the gallows, you would have to possess a tremendous amount of political power and strategic skills. That's impossible for you, Your Highness. I'll have him assassinated! I'll send my Imperial Guards! Imperial Guards? Roxy sighed inwardly. He really wasn't thinking this through at all. There's no way your guards could cross the country's border. Even if they could, and the chance would be 1 in a million, the Boreas family has invited Sword King Ghislaine to their house as a guest. You truly think they could sneak into the citadel of Roa, into the Boreas manor, slip past Ghislaine's watchful eye, and assassinate a master magician? Grrr! The prince ground his teeth together and stomped his feet. Roxy let yet another sigh slip past her lips. I can't believe this. He's already 15 and he doesn't even know the first thing about distinguishing between what's possible and what's not. Roxy heard that Rudius's pupil, Eris, had been an uncontrollable wild animal 3 years ago, but had recently become more refined. Meanwhile, her student was in this sorry state. Years ago, she had found him endearing and even recognized his talent for magic. Unfortunately, as soon as he realized what kind of power he had, his will to improve vanished and he spent the better part of his lessons sleeping. Now she saw no potential in him. Anyway, I'll be quitting my position as your tutor soon, so you wouldn't make it in time even if you sent assassins out right this very minute. As soon as she said that, he raised his voice in shock. What? I haven't heard a word about this. You must not remember, then. The agreement from the beginning was that she would work as his tutor until he reached maturity. At the time, she had considered requesting to stay beyond her contract. However, there were many in the royal palace who resented her presence. Leaving was the wisest course of action. It's a good opportunity as well, she added. A good opportunity for what? There's something strange about the western sky. Now I can go see it for myself. What the heck? She didn't say it because she wanted to see Rudius's face after all this time. It would only enrage the prince if she did. I still need you. We're still in the middle of our lessons, right? Irrelevant. You sleep through them anyway. That's your fault for not waking me up then. Oh, really? Then as a bad teacher, I should take my leave quickly. Please be sure to hire someone who will wake you next time. I'm not interested. This prince is impossible for me, Roxy thought. I can't stop comparing him to Rudius. All I had to do was teach Rudius one thing, and he would take to that, study it, and learn 10 or 20 new things. Maybe I can't be a teacher again after meeting a student like that. And thus, Roxy left Sharon and set out on her journey. She was accosted by the seventh prince and his personal guards on her way out, but swiftly repelled them. Afterward, the seventh prince obstinately insisted that she should be apprehended and brought before him to answer for the unforgivable act of violence she committed against him. However, the king refused to pay his claims any heed. Instead, the prince was rebuked and severely punished for being unable to convince the Water King tier magician Roxy Migurdia to stay. Roxy was not the only one to notice the change in the sky. Every person in every part of the world took notice, both of its abnormality and the abruptness of its appearance. Even those of wide renown took note. Shim, I'm going to have you take over for this part.
Oh, shit. Hold on.
Yeah, just specifically the Red Worm Mountains.
Prepared.
Sorry, I accidentally sat on my headphones, and then everything popped off. I'm sorry, where were we?
How did that even?
We're in the Red Worm Mountains.
Oh, because like my what was it? My cord was underneath like my thigh, so I sat up and then it popped out the cord.
Really?
Yeah,
Page
yeah.
2.
It wasn't
Okay.
like my. Yeah, I know where we're at.
Page 2.
The Red Worm Mountains, right? The Dragon God Orsted. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
The Dragon God Orsted gazed up at the western sky. Mana's pooling there. What is it? What's caused this madness? He scowled with suspicion. No matter. I'll know once I see it for myself. He headed straight west, passing over the corpse of the red worm he had just slain with a single attack. Other red worms were swarming the area like a drove of insects, but not a single one tried to involve themselves. They knew what manner of... Oh, sorry. Not a single one tried to involve themselves. They knew what manner of being walked the ground below them. They knew that even if they banded together to attack, they would only be killed. They also knew that if they stayed clear, they would be safe. That being was the Dragon God, a being that existed outside the rules of this world, a being they could not touch. Full of pride, another young worm that didn't understand its place in the world descended upon Orsted. In a split second, it was rendered into nothing more than a lump of meat. Fucking cleaved in two.
Yeah, like it's so crazy. I love how in the anime, literally the
a
worm
1v1
breathed
a
fire.
protag.
Like
Yeah.
literally, he breathed like the red worm breathed fire directly on Orsted, and he just stood there like it was nothing, and then cleaved
Like-
the fucker in two.
Yeah, I was like, nope. That's
He
funny.
split
He didn't
that.
even say that.
He split that worm in twain.
Did it
It's
grow
like
two
he's
more?
Beerus. It
Yeah.
almost feels like he's being described like Beerus or something.
Kind of.
Years.
Yeah.
Mirror spirit. Yeah, I mean, he is a god, so I mean, yeah.
He's like Beerus,
Red
but
Worm's,
if he was more serious.
Yeah. Well, we're talking about DBZ gods versus Mushoku Tensei gods.
not the same.
Like I
thing.
said, they take their job more seriously.
Yeah, they're
Yeah.
not.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to say that analogy is not even remotely.
Orsted
accurate.
is not a type of alcohol.
Well, also like the reason Beerus is the way that he is because literally he was made to reflect freaking
Super common.
Akira Toriyama's cat.
Super cool.
Yeah.
So he acts very cat-like, gets distracted very easily, takes naps all the time. Like Beerus is just a straight up cat. This dude is a dragon god. Like they are not.
Yeah. They are not
they're
the same, but they're both gods.
That's the
In their
only thing they
respective
have in
universes.
common.
You see
The only
you
thing
see
they
the
have in common
similarities,
is that they're
though,
no.
that I'm seeing here.
No, I deny
No?
your similarities. I reject your reality and substitute my own.
Mm.
How dare you?
Well, I mean, it's
I
the
took
truth.
offense to that actually.
Well, I mean, you can.
It's
The
his
only thing
stream.
they have in common is that they're gods. Orsted isn't
Yep.
even a god.
Well,
of
just more
destruction.
like how they act when like being like approached. I should say is like, huh?
That's
Okay.
just
Boom, dead.
crazy. That's just crazy powerful stuff. And to be fair, a lot of what's happening to Orsted here isn't even his own fault.
Yep.
Yeah.
Like we at least all have this information from just watching season 1. We know that most of this is not his fault.
No.
Yep.
Well, I mean,
Alright.
he's looking up. If it was his fault, he'd be like, "Oh, yep, I did this." Instead, he's like, "What the fuck?"
He'd be like,
Anyway.
shit, I should probably do something about this.
Anyhow.
Or something,
Probably wouldn't
yeah.
have actually happened.
All right,
Red
let's
worms
continue.
were yeah. Red worms were dreadfully strong creatures that resided on the central continent. It was not just their battle prowess that made them fearsome, but also their intelligence. That was why they knew he was the man rumored to be the strongest in the world, and an opponent they could not hope to defeat no matter how much their numbers favored them. Orsted moved slowly down the mountain as the red worms watched, his intentions a secret that only he was privy to.
Okay, so here's the crazy thing, right?
Mm,
You guys remember the sign that had the 7 names on it?
yes, that they passed in the cart, right?
Yeah. You remember
Yeah.
where Orsted's name was located? The dragon god? You remember
I don't remember
his was
where his
titled?
name was located, but
Number 2.
I remember it was on there.
Number 2.
So
The
that's like the ranking and strength.
The technique god is above him. But here's the
Right.
thing. The technique god, in order
Probably
to become
not
the
by much.
like a very specific thing has to happen in order for the technique god to do to get to the level of power that puts him at number 1. So it's a very specific thing. And then as the man god, as Hitogami said before, if Orsted were to just release himself from the curses,
Mm-hmm.
he could kill other gods like the man god. He'd easily be number 1. He has enough power. He has enough power to easily outclass all of them.
That's cool.
Yeah, but
Good
here's
to
the thing. Here's the thing. We got that information from the man god's perspective. So it's a question as to whether he was being 100% truthful or if that's just like his point of view. Because yeah, we don't know. We don't know
correct
fully what's
from a-
going on with Orsted. Like we'd have to hear directly from Orsted to know what's going on with Orsted.
I see.
Mm. It all stems from I don't trust the man god. That's
don't.
basically where it stems from. All right,
Yeah,
here we go.
it's
The
understandable.
The floating fortress. The armored dragon Perugius, one of the 3 legendary heroes, looked down at the northern sky. What is that? It looks like the light emitted from the great emperor of the demon world revives. Standing nearby was a woman with 3 crows, with a white crow's mask over her face, a member of the sky folk who possessed black wings. She whispered, "The mana level is different." "Indeed. If anything, it resembles the color of a summoning." "Yes. But that said, I've never seen that much light from a summoning before. It's similar to when we created Chaos Breaker." Perugius had to act. He had spent today, just like any other, seated atop his throne in Chaos Breaker, attending to his 12 followers, continuing to monitor the surface. He had only one objective: to vanquish his loathsome enemy, the demon god Laplace. As soon as they revived, he waited in the sky for that moment when the seal would come undone. Could it be that the great emperor of the demon world is trying to unseal Laplace? It's possible. The emperor has been unsettlingly quiet in the 300 years since their arrival, she responded. All right, Arumanfi. All right. Arumanfi! I am here. A man swathed in white and wearing a yellow mask appeared and kneeled before Perugius. Search immediately and... I'm certain whoever is behind this must be up to something. If you see anyone suspicious that seems to be involved with this, kill them. Understood. The armored dragon Perugius made his vow, his 12 retainers behind him, all to avenge the 4 friends that he had lost. This time, for certain, he would deal the demon god Laplace a finishing blow.
Can I peep in for a sec?
Mm-hmm.
I was just asking, is it Perugius or Perugius? Like, how would you want to be pronounced from here on? Perugius?
I'm going with Perugius, but I mean, it could be Perugius. I don't know.
Okay, because I did Gius, so I didn't know. I wanted to know for reference.
Perugius.
For the future.
But
Perugius.
I don't know.
Yeah, I can see that.
I don't know for a fact if that's the way that it's said. It's just that's how I hear it in my head. So that's why.
Okay. So Perugius. Okay, I'll
Mhm.
stick with that then.
The sword
All right.
sanctum. All right, get to know this guy. He's going to be showing up a bit more And I'm actually
Valiant.
kind of pissed. I'm actually kind of pissed that this got left out of season 2. There was a lot more shit going on with Galfalion in the books that cover season 2, but in season 3 especially. So if they don't do this, if they don't show what's going on with Galfalion in the Source Sanctum, I'm gonna be a little mad.
I feel like that's an important thing.
It's very important.
Yeah.
Well, he's not a god. He's not
the
an
sword
actual
god. Galfalion.
Yeah, the sword god is a title, not an actual god.
Ah, okay. Oh,
Yeah,
so it's like
'cause
to be fair,
so it's like
to be fair,
Ghislaine.
the dragon
Child.
god Orsted, that's a title. He's not an actual god.
Ah, okay. I thought he was.
He's just that
No.
powerful, I guess.
He's
I
just
see.
that powerful. I mean,
I see.
he's powerful enough to kill a god, technically.
Mm.
So there you go. All
And
right,
or
the sword
dragon, I
sanctum.
assume.
Hint, hint.
The sword god. Well, I mean, he's already killed a few of those. He is the dragon god. Yeah.
Established. Yep.
The sword god Galfalion gazed up at the southern sky. What's wrong with the sky today? Oh, what's wrong with the sky? Also, the moment his focus shifted to something else, two of his beloved pupils launched an attack on him at the same time. Don't come at me while I've got my attention on other things. His composure was relaxed. In comparison, both of his beloved pupils were short of breath. As usual, the two had no sense, he thought. They were overconfident from having earned the title of Sword Emperor, yet this was all it amounted to. What a load of crap. Fame had no place in swordplay. All you needed to do was get stronger. The only thing fame brought you was money and political power. There was no value in that. Anyone who could obtain those things, being as great as he was, he could cut. Oh, anyone could obtain those things. Being as great as he was, he could cut right through that garbage in a single stroke. If you were strong, you could have things your way. Having things your way was how you stayed alive. Ghislaine understood that best, but she had grown soft. That was why she was stuck at the level of Sword King. Those with a powerful lust for life were innately strong, no matter how physically weak or incapable of wielding a sword they might be. But those who had become strong could lose that driving force. That was why Ghislaine lost her way. She wasn't selfish enough. It wasn't as though the pupils before him were especially gifted. It was their obscene greed that made them strong. The insatiable appetite of a pair that lived on a life or death battlefield. Hey, come at me already. Defeat me, then battle each other to the death so one of you can call yourselves the Sword God. You'll have enough money to play around for 100 lifetimes. You'll be able to line up women from slave girls to princesses and have your way with them. Your name alone will bring people to their knees in fear. One step forward and crowds of people will part to make way for you. I didn't start learning the sword for something like that. Master, please don't insult us like that. This was it. They were going to learn to be more honest with themselves, for if they did, they would easily be able to crush someone like him and call themselves sword gods. The sword god Galfalion had already forgotten about the southern sky. This is the person that they skipped out on in this area. They also didn't show Perugius. So, however, we're seeing the next one. Shem, you're taking over for this one as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
The great emperor of the demon world.
Kishirisu. God, that name.
Yeah,
always gives me
and then the
issues.
fun part is going to be that I'm making Sonic voice her.
Ah, okay. Gazed up at the eastern
One.
sky.
It's your line, Sonic.
Oh wait, okay. When you become as great as I am, you can see things even if you face the opponent directly.
The opposite direction.
How's that? The opposite direction. How's that? Amazing, isn't it?
There was no one there to answer her. Not a single person was present.
So you're ignoring me. Very well, very well. I'll forgive you humans. Or rather, No one will come near me because of the peace treaty, so I have no choice but to forgive you.
Kishirika was lonely.
God,
The
I'm
moment
lonely.
she had fair. The moment she had revived from death, she had cried out.
I, the Demon Lord's great emperor,
Demon Worlds.
Demon World's great emperor. I was focusing on the word ahead. I shouldn't have.
Yep.
Demon World's great emperor, Kishirika. Kishirika. There we go.
Yeah. So start from the
I,
beginning.
the great Demon World's great emperor, Kishirika, have revived. I must have kept you all waiting.
But no one was there. She decided she would go into the city to repeat her declaration, only for people to look at her as if she were a pitiful child. Since then, no one paid her any attention. She tried visiting one of her old friends, but they simply told her, things are peaceful right now, so behave yourself.
Human diviners even doing? When I revived in the past, they would start trembling in sudden fear, blabble weird things, then leap from the windows. Without that opening act, feels like there's no value to my revival. Honestly, youngsters these days.
She kicked at a stone and looked up at the magic pooling in the western sky. Another name of the great emperor of the demon world was the demon emperor of demon eyes. She possessed more than 10, and in a single glance she could tell what was happening, no matter how far away. With those eyes, she saw powerful mana, the familiar light of summoning magic and the person controlling it. Or at least, she should have been able to.
What's this? I can't see the one doing this. I wonder if there's a barrier. You must be a shy one, hiding your face after causing such mayhem.
Kishirika's eyes were not all powerful. That was why she was merely the great emperor of the demon world, and would never be called a demon god, no matter how much time passed. Not that she was particularly bothered by that.
It'd be nice if they could at least summon a hero, but lately everyone is all Lapis this and Lapis that. Kirishika? Who's that?
Kishirika.
Lapis and
Kishirika.
Kishirika.
Yeah.
I said Lapis.
No, you no
Lapis. Oops.
You
Yeah.
said
Lapis.
lapis. It's not lapis.
Yeah.
It's lapis.
Yeah.
Okay, that's probably just more pronounced. Okay. Lapis this, Lapis that. Kirishirika? Who's that?
Kishirika. Where
Yes, I
are
said
you getting?
Kishirika.
It says
I said
Kishirika.
Kishirika!
No, you didn't.
Yes, I did!
Yeah.
No, you didn't.
No, you didn't, dude.
I said Kishirika!
No, you didn't.
No, it wasn't that.
That wasn't what you
Kishirika?
said.
Who's that? So it's not even like it matters. I guess even horses would rather go for young
Heroes.
men with young hero. Oh wow, yeah. I guess
Horses.
even heroes would rather go for young men with good looks like Lapis. I want some time in the spotlight too. I want to be showered with attention and put on a parade.
Side it.
Heroes.
Yeah, I was gonna say. Jesus Christ.
Are centaurs a thing? I don't
Haunts.
remember
I'm
actually.
telling
if
you,
we saw
man, the
centaurs
amount of
here.
the amount of
Serious.
horses that are going after
Grr.
young men these days, my guy.
That's awful. I don't like
Yeah.
that. I really don't like
God,
that.
Centaurs, maybe. I don't know.
I don't
if
like
there even
that.
are a thing in this world. I don't think they are.
No.
I don't like any of that.
All right, moving on.
She sighed, and so did I, as she set out on her journey. A journey with no particular destination in mind.
All right, here we go. At the same time, Rudius's perspective. We went to the hill on the outskirts of the citadel of Roa. As I had promised on my birthday, I was going to show Ghislaine what Saint Tyr magic, water magic looked like. Eris, of course, tagged along. I went out, I took out Aquahartia and removed the cloth I had wrapped around the crystal just in case. As awkward as it looked, it was better than showing off to potential thieves what an expensive item I had. I had wrapped it to look like a mana-filled cloth for amplifying the magic of the staff. It was at least better than people thinking I was hiding an enormous gem. I decided to test the staff with a practice shot before trying out Saint Tyr water magic. I focused the same amount of mana I always did to create a water ball, but the result was immense, bigger than I'd ever seen before. Whoa, this is huge. That's what she said. When I tried compressing the ball, it instead became so small that you couldn't even see it. I slowly made adjustments. After 30 minutes of testing things out, I figured out that this staff increased the effects of my water magic fivefold. This meant my offensive magic was more potent, and I could produce the same power level with a reduced mana cost. To represent this with numbers, without the staff, mana cost 10, power 5. With the staff, mana cost 10, power 25. With the staff, mana cost 2, power 5. Something like that, in other words. It worked like a magnifying glass or a microscope. Elaborate adjustments were difficult right now, but I would probably be fine once I got accustomed to using the staff. How is it? Eris had a nervous look on her face. Don't worry, I'm officially obsessed with my new toy, I thought. It's difficult to make adjustments, but it's really amazing. Really? I'm glad. I continued testing and discovered that fire magic was amplified twofold, while earth and wind were each amplified thrice. Using the staff to combine different types of magic, however, seemed difficult. Or was that also a matter of getting used to it? All right, then. What you have all been waiting for. I, Rudius Grey Rat, will show you my great all-powerful hidden technique. Yay! Eris clapped in joy. Ghislaine also seemed deeply interested. I was also feeling excited. Time to show them how cool I was. Bwahaha! I raised my staff toward the sky as I chanted my Saint Tier water magic spell. Mana, gather to me. Magnificent spirit of water, lift to the heavens. Huh? That was when I noticed it. What's that? The other two followed my gaze and looked up as well. I don't know, but it's an incredible amount of mana. So she could see mana with that eye. After 3 years, I finally knew her true power. A demon eye! Ghislaine quickly replaced her eye patch. Shall we go back to the city for now? I didn't know what this abnormal sky heralded, but if something happened, I wanted to have a roof to take refuge under. We'd be in trouble if spears began raining upon us. No. The closer you get to the city, the more concentrated the mana. It might be better to distance ourselves instead. But we have to go back to the manor and warn everybody at least. Surely it would be better to inform Philip and the others and get the townspeople to safety. In that case, I'll go. Rudius, duck! I crouched reflexively. Something whooshed by, slicing through the air at top speed, right where my head had been. A chill ran down my spine. What was that? What just happened? You! Beside me, Ghislaine put her hand on her sword, and her silhouette blurred. The next moment, she was in a pose as if she had just struck with her sword. She demonstrated this for me many times before. The sword god's Saint Tier technique, the long sword of light, a secret technique of the sword god style. It was said that if you performed it perfectly, the tip of your sword reached the speed of light. Ghislaine told me it was this technique that made sword god style the strongest of the 3 styles. Ghislaine's brows knitted. She must have missed her target. Her opponent dodged that death blow of an attack that was too fast to be seen with the naked eye. Ghislaine's face went hard with caution as she glared at something behind me. I slowly turned around to see who had tried to attack me and dodged Ghislaine's counterslash. Who? A man stood there. He had blonde hair and was wearing something that looked like a pure white school uniform fastened in the front. He probably had a handsome face, but it was hidden behind a yellow mask that looked like a fox. In his right hand was a dagger. That must have been it. That was what came from my head. Who are you? Tell us your name. The moment after Ghislaine shouted, his face gleamed. It was a brilliant light. So brilliant, it blinded us all for a moment. I immediately shut my eyes. Gah! I heard Ghislaine howl, then a clang as metal clashed against metal, then the sound of rapid movement. Their blades met, twice, then a third time. By the time my vision recovered, Ghislaine was in front of me with her eye patch pulled back. So that was how she did it. The moment that light took our vision, she pulled her eye patch aside so she could see with her other eye. Bastard! Who are you? Are you an enemy of the Grey Rat family? Arumanfi of the Bright. That is my name. Arumanfi? I came to put a stop to this strange phenomenon on Lord Perugius' orders. Perugius? Now that was a name I had heard before. One of the 3 legendary heroes who slew the demon god, and one of the survivors of that battle. A summoner with 12 familiars. Then, like a chain reaction, I remembered the name Arumanfi. He was one of those 12 familiars, Arumanfi the Bright. Be careful, Ghislaine. According to the literature I read, this guy can move at the speed of light. Rudius, take the young mistress and fall back. Oh, man. I gotta take a break for a second and get something to drink. My throat is drying out, so give me just a moment.
Mm.
I drink the water.
Mm.
Drink your fucking water. I just remember that still being a bit with another person who had to actually worry about that and like actually made that like a sound alert in the the Twitch.
It is a
And
very
but the problem
important
is,
thing to do.
but yeah, the problem was though there was no cooldown for it, so you could literally
Oh,
just spam it, and everyone in the chat was just like, "Drink your fucking water, drink your fucking water, drink your fucking water, drink your fucking water," but overlapping over and
hydrate
over
up.
and over, almost
Yep.
like waterboarding her at a point. It was funny.
She's like, all right. Good.
Like, why is there no cooldown? I'm trying.
I mean, we've only got 4 more pages left in this chapter, and then we hit the epilogue.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yep.
we're moving. We're
Yep.
moving on along.
Yep.
All right. Let me get some water in my system.
Mm-hmm.
Down in my to wet my whistle.
There you go. Yuck. All right.
Yep.
Just as Ghislaine asked, I used my my back as a shield and escorted Eris a safe distance away so we wouldn't be embroiled in the battle. I was I was careful not to go too far, staying with Ghislaine's protective reach. Within Ghislaine's protective reach, sorry. If that really were Arumanfi the Bright, a sword couldn't touch him. I was sure I'd read something like that in the Legend of Perugius. That said, where did he come from? Where did he go? Where did he come from, Cotton Anyway. No, wait. Arumanfi the Bright was said to be the governing spirit of light. It was said that he could travel any distance instantaneously if he were within line of sight. Back when I read that, I thought it was a load of rubbish, but he had appeared behind me in the blink of an eye. Ghislaine would never let her guard down, and he had no reason to be lurking in this area beforehand. He must have flown here, at the literal speed of light. That was one of his abilities, after all. Woman, move! The strange occurrence might cease if I slay that boy. Wait, what was he talking about? Strange occurrence? You mean that thing in the sky? What kind of misunderstanding is he under? I am the Sword King Ghislaine de Doldia. The thing in the sky has nothing to do with us. Withdraw. Sword King? How can I believe that? Show me proof. Look, this is one of the famous blades of the 7 original sword gods, Hiramune. Flat core. Will you still not believe after seeing it? She thrust her sword toward Arumanfi while still gripping it firmly by the hilt. I didn't know her sword had that kind of inscription on it. Flat core? Core as in chest? Certainly not a word I'd associate with Ghislaine's chest.
Time and place, Rudy.
Mm-hmm. Swear on the names of your master and your household. I swear on the name of my master, Sword God Falian, and the honor of the Dodoldia people. Dodoldia, was it? Very well. If we later discover you're not as innocent as you claim, Lord Perugius will decide your fate. Fine with me. Aramanfi stowed his dagger. I wasn't really sure what was going on, but the issue was apparently settled. To me, it seemed obvious that swearing something was true didn't mean someone was being honest, but apparently that was how things worked in this world. That said, did swearing on the names of those people really lend her words that much credibility? The same level as, say, the Roman Catholic Pope swearing on the name of God? It's fine as long as you aren't the ones responsible. And you won't even apologize for attacking us out of nowhere? It was your fault for doing something suspicious here, he said, turning on his heel. Let's just calm down and think about this rationally, I thought. First, something strange was happening in the sky. Then this guy showed up, the familiar of a legendary and storied hero. This person of legend attacked me. He thought I was the one who caused the phenomenon in the sky. That wasn't true, of course, but maybe he knew something about what was going on up there. No, he couldn't have, or he wouldn't have attacked me in the first place. I started to say. Ah! Right as I called out to Aramanfi, the sky turned white, and a finger of light spread toward the ground. The instant it reached the earth, the light ballooned at incredible speed, violently swallowing everything in its path like a tidal wave. The manor, the city, the citadel, the flowers, and the trees, everything was devoured as it expanded. And bam, there's the image. As soon as Aramanfi saw what was happening, he disappeared in a burst of light. Ghislaine ran toward us, but was swallowed before she could reach us. Eris froze in confusion, and I wrapped my body around hers to shield her. That was the day of the Fatoa region. Oh, that was the day the Fatoa region vanished. Yep. Oh, here we go, kids. This is the part that we didn't find out about until much later.
Mm-hmm.
Multiple times later.
All right. Shem, you get the
Yes.
honor of reading the epilogue.
Okay.
It was 6 months after the Fatoa region vanished. Roxy had finally reached the area, only to be greeted by nothing but grass-covered plains. She took in the sight, wide-eyed and dumbfounded. She was standing on the main highway, a stone-paved road. No other country had a road so magnificent that far from its capital. Asura Kingdom had developed it and laid it out, stretching from one end of the kingdom to the other. But that was how the road had been when she last traversed it. Now it was gone, abruptly cut off in front of her. There was nothing else as far as the eye could see, nothing but grass spread far and wide. Something had happened, she knew that, but she wasn't sure what. All she knew was that the Fatoa region had disappeared. Buena Village was gone, and Rudius, his kind family who had accepted her despite her race, and everyone else, had disappeared. Roxy caught wind of the story several times during her journey here. She was sure it couldn't be true, sure that people were just trying to deceive her. At any rate, she chose not to believe what she heard. She believed that Rudius and his family were definitely alive. They were just fine and nothing had happened to them. She staked everything on that one sliver of hope. At least until now, when she finally saw the reality spread out before her. Roxy's knees gave out from under her. So, you lost someone too, huh? The driver of the coach said, the driver of the coach she took said from behind her. It's a weird sentence, anyway. An exceptional apprentice, she answered. An apprentice, huh? Being a magician's apprentice, he must have been prepared for the possibility of losing his life anyway, yeah? He was only 10. Wow, that is too soon. He patted her on the shoulder as if to soothe her. For a while, Roxy could do nothing but stare at the earth at her feet. She didn't want to think about anything. She couldn't. She wasn't even sure what she should do from there. The driver watched her silently before he spoke up again, his words measured. Actually, there's a Fatoa region refugee camp. Want to go see? Well, it'd be difficult for a 10-year-old kid to survive what happened, but you never know. Roxy's head jerked up. I'll go. This was Rudius, after all. Surely he was all right. No doubt he'd use his quick wits to survive. He was surely in perfect health, living in that settlement. Once again, she clutched firmly at a sliver of hope. The refugee camp comprised numerous wooden buildings and was roughly the size of a village. A great number of people bustled about. They were anything but carefree. A dark, heavy mood hung over them. I never thought I would see something like this in Asura Kingdom, Roxy thought. The Asura Kingdom, Roxy knew, was the wealthiest country in the world. The people there had faces full of optimism, and there were smiles everywhere you looked. Food was plentiful and monsters were few. It was the easiest place to live. There were no smiles to be found here. The settlement didn't seem to lack for food. This was a fairly bountiful area. They wouldn't starve, not so long as they could pull up the grass and eat it. As long as they weren't in danger of starving, they should have been smiling. Even if a disaster had taken place, things weren't nearly as dire as they were on the demon continent, or so she thought. But she couldn't help frowning at the sight before her. The refugee camp had a temporary adventurers guild. It was there, in front of the bulletin board that normally had various requests pinned to it, that the melancholy dwelled to the thickest. A man who had lost his house and family stood there wailing. What the hell? What the hell is this? 6 whole months! It took 6 whole months for me to get back here, damn it! Laura, Francis, why are all of you dead? He lost his family, and not just them, but his house, his land, the tools of his trade, everything he had. His heart-wrenching screams were difficult to hear, but no one could stop him from lamenting. God, is this all your fault? A priest threw the tools of his trade, the symbol of a Milist religion organization, onto the ground. I won't believe anymore. You're not gods. You just ridicule and kill us. You're cruel demons. Face full of hatred, he looked up at the heavens and cursed. There were other Milist believers present, but none of them were praying to the gods. A merchant was trying to slit his own throat, only to be stopped by the people around him. Don't stop me! Hey, knock it off. What good does dying do? Good things can still happen to you if you're alive. If I live, do you seriously believe that? Damn it! I lost something more important than my own life. Please, just let me die. Damn it! Damn it! Damn it! The man squatted and began crying, his face contorted in despair, his entire body trembled. This was a horrible place. Everyone's faces were grief-stricken. Roxy had never known a place so dominated by sadness before. She had watched many people die, had even escaped scenes of carnage herself numerous times. This was the first time she had ever seen a place in such pure anguish. This was the first time she had ever seen a place of such pure anguish. This might be a pointless endeavor, she thought. Pulled in by the heavy atmosphere, she felt close to tears, but she pressed on and began her hunt for information. An hour passed. Roxy learned the gist of what happened. After the sky turned strange, a large-scale mana calamity occurred over the Fatoa region. It was not an explosion exactly, but it did spread far and wide. Everything in the Fatoa region was enveloped by it, and transported or teleported randomly to locations all over the world. The buildings and trees disappeared entirely, scattering only the people that had been there. Some of them had managed to return to the region, but realized nothing was left of their hometowns and lost all hope. Truly terrible, Roxy muttered as she looked at the bulletin board. There were rows of names listed as either deceased or missing. Posted beside them were messages to family members and requests such as, if you see this person in your travels, please bring them here. The most eye-catching part of the notice board was a request that was pinned under the name of Fatoa's liege lord, asking for information on the missing and deceased, an unprecedented number of people. As an adventurer, Roxy had done her fair share of work. Never in her life had she seen a bulletin board this full of requests, nor one that was so desperate and so heart-wrenching. It was clear just how widespread the damage of this calamity really was. Perhaps she had run across someone on the list of the deceased and the missing on the way here. She had heard rumors about people suddenly reappearing. Of course, she hadn't paid it any mind at the time. There was always idle gossip like that. If only she could remember something, she might be of some help to the people here. No. She shook her head, stopping her train of thought right there. She had taken the biggest highway across the central continent to get here. Any information she had, someone else had probably already reported it by now. Roxy instead turned her gaze to the list of the deceased and began going through the names in order. Despite the scale of the disaster, the list of the deceased was relatively short, and she didn't recognize any of the names. By comparison, the list of missing people was so long it was painful to look at. It made sense given they had all been transported elsewhere. Surely some of them had been attacked and killed by monsters, leaving behind no remains by which to identify them. There were many places that could kill one instantly, mountaintops, midair, or in the sea. It was incredible that some of the deaths were even confirmed. There it is. Roxy furrowed her brows. She found the names of Rudius and the others in the missing persons column. Rudius Greyrat, Zenith Greyrat, Lilia Greyrat, Aisha Greyrat. She knew that Lilia had become one of Paul's wives. Rudius had written as much in one of his letters. Paul and Norn's names had a line drawn through them. She took another look at the list of deceased just in case. They weren't there. That meant they had to be alive. Then again, it could have also meant that there was no information on them. A short-lived moment of relief. At least I can rejoice in the fact that they're not dead for now. Absent-mindedly, she looked over the message board again. The desperation of the writers was so clear. Roxy wondered if her own parents were doing well back home. Quite some time had passed since she fought with them and left her village. Until recently, she hadn't paid much attention to the flow of time, in part because she was a member of the meagered race. The months passed quickly. Perhaps she should at least send a letter. She found a message on the board. The writer was Paul Greyrat.
I'll read it.
To Rudius. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No. To Rudius, Zenith, Lilia, and Aisha are missing. Norn is safe in my custody. I don't know where you are right now, but I'm sure that even if you're alone, you'll make it back here. So I'll search for you last. For now, I'm headed to Millis Continent. That's where Zenith was born and raised. I've sent a message to Lilia's hometown and house as well. I want you to search the northern part of the central continent. If you find any of them, contact me with the info below. Zenith, Lilia, if either of you see this, please contact me as well. For anyone that might know me or my family or former members of the Fang of the Black Wolf, please help me search. I'm sure the members of the Fang of the Black Wolf may have mixed feelings about me. I won't ask you to sweep it under the rug. You can scream at me all you want. If you ask me to lick your boots, I'll do it. All my assets are gone, so I can't pay you. But please, help me search for my family. Contact information: Millis Continent, Holy Country of Millis' capital, Millis-Shion. Adventurers Guild. Party name: Search Squadron for Buena Village Residents. Clan name: Roa Regions Search for Missing Persons Association. From Paul Greyrat.
Man, I
Paul was
wrote that-
alive. Sorry.
Wrote
go ahead.
that letter quick.
It's been 6
Yeah.
months, my guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's been
Oh,
a
that's
long
right.
time.
I forgot about that.
At this point in time, they have skipped ahead 6 months into, like, at this point in time, if you want to understand where things are in the timeline, Rudius, Eris, and Regerd left the big city, Kishirika's place, because they were
Yeah,
only there
the
for a month.
Demon Continent city. Yeah.
The
Oh,
the first big city on the Demon Continent. They left
Yeah,
that
yeah.
2
So
months
he
ago.
has the eye and stuff. So
Pardon me.
that makes sense.
They left No, he doesn't have the eye yet.
Oh, okay. So he.
No.
But I
No,
thought
he
you said
doesn't.
they just left there.
No, that's Windport, my dude. That's at the south
okay.
area.
Okay, that's right. That's right.
Because that city that you're talking about is the same city where Roxy and Rudy passed each other
That's right.
and
That's
never
right.
came into contact. No.
got my geography
Kishirika's
all wrong.
hometown, which is in the northeastern section of the Demon Continent. So they're 2 months into their 1-year journey across the Demon Continent to get to Windport. See, that's the thing that the anime is really bad at, is showing you the time that it took. Because they made it seem like it was just a nice little jaunt across the Demon Continent that took a couple of weeks or maybe a few days. No, that was a whole year. 1 year of journeying.
Yeah, you
okay.
barely really notice it with how
With how the anime did it.
Rudy
So-
and what's her? I'm blanking on her name now. damn it.
Also the city that they were in, Kishirisu City, with the Adventurers Guild and the horse guy that tried to fucking manipulate them and stuff. They were only in that city for like very short period of time, maybe a
Like,
month
maybe
at
a month.
most. Maybe
Oh,
a month
month,
at
okay.
most. That's still a short time compared to the fact that it took them 2 years to get back.
Wow.
Roughly
insane
2.5
amount of
years.
time.
They crossed the fucking world, my dude.
I know. I'm just like, holy shit.
Yeah,
That's crazy.
Because you got to realize that by the time
So
that they
much
get
distance
back,
covered.
Eris has had her 15th birthday. So she's
Yeah.
no longer a child. She's a woman. And regardless of like take away the fact that Rudy had a past life that he's still familiar with, that he still remembers. Rudy was 12 when what
Damn.
happened between them happened, and she
Yeah.
pushed it. Rudy was showing massive growth by telling her, no, let's wait until the time we agreed. It's only like 2.5, 3 more years. We can do it. And
Mhm.
she just fucking did it. Like she just in that instance, and we'll get there at the end of volume 6, but Roxy takes advantage of Rudy. So it's literally the other way around from what we just read. So honestly, Roxy's very much at fault for what happens. I hate how the anime kind of did this, and especially because they never showed Roxy at all in season 2. There are so many people who don't have context for what's going on that absolutely hate the fuck out of Eris. They don't understand what the fuck the letter was about. They don't understand anything. They just saw that Eris cut her hair and screamed into the wind that she loves Rudy. And they're like, well, if you loved him, why'd you leave? And I'm like,
Well, the lettering, the wording is kind of bad.
There's a full-on explanation for that when we get to volume 6, but let's finish up volume 2.
Yeah. Paul was alive, knowing that brought her relief. Rudius had griped about Paul in his letters, but it seemed Paul was especially reliable in situations like this. Roxy stopped to think. The best course of action would be to help with the search. She was indebted to their family, after all. Even now, she thought fondly of the 2 years she spent with them. For many reasons, she was more than willing to help. All right, let's do this, she decided. The moment she made up her mind, her thoughts started churning. But who should I search for? And how? Fang of the Black Wolf was likely the name of Paul's adventuring party. Fang of the Black Wolf was likely the name of Paul's adventuring party. Those people probably weren't acquainted with Rudius or Lilia, for that matter. But since Paul had left Rudius for last, she decided to search for him instead. It seemed Paul thought Rudius would return to Fitoa, but that boy was highly adaptable. It was just as likely that he would settle in whatever place he had been teleported off to. If that were the case, she needed to tell him what had happened and bring him back. I'll search for Rudius then. Now, where to start? Paul had gone to the capital of the Holy Millis country. That meant he probably left similar messages along the way, specifically in 3 places: the Ashura Kingdom's borders, the Dragon King Kingdom's eastern port, and the Holy Country of Millis's western port. In that case, she should search beyond those places. That would be the northern part of the central continent.
You know, I
the
haven't
Beggarid
actually
continent.
listened. I haven't actually listened to the dub of Mushoku Tensei, and I really should, because I want to know how to pronounce this. Is it Asura or Asura? I don't know.
Asura.
Yeah.
Asura, yeah.
I believe they say Asura.
Like
I can
Asura,
double check.
like
I don't know.
Asura's Wrath.
I'll check the dub later, but it doesn't
Yeah.
really matter.
Yeah.
It's not overly
And the
important.
I think it,
Yeah.
yeah, I feel like it could go either way, honestly, with it.
The thing that's important right now is that Shim finished season 2.
Yep. I need to go, but we'll do that.
We gotta do it.
One of those 3. She had never been to Beggarid before. But it started burning when the world was... Okay. But she heard it was...
Set the world on fire.
I can't think of that without seeing the Knuckles sing-along.
Really?
Asura.
Yeah, there's like a Knuckles sing-along to that song.
Dude, I didn't need
where
the
he's all
answer
squat.
yet. I said I would look for it when I watch the dub later.
Oh, wait, in
Oh.
the Paramount series?
No, you guys are talking about 2 different things.
Anyhow.
No. You said Knuckles after
Yeah,
while I was looking
not
that
in
up.
the Paramount series. There's a parody animation online with like the squat Knuckles.
I don't think I've seen that.
Anyway, one of those 3. She had never been to Beggarid before, but she heard it was full of labyrinths and monsters. Flesh. And while she had some...
I like the trailer for the 3rd movie. It's just kind of weird that
You're a
Keanu
colorful
Reeves'
bunch.
voice it's just weird hearing Keanu Reeves' voice coming out of Shadow. I'm like, why is John?
It is a little bit, but yeah, it works.
I feel like we'll get used to it with time, but it's just more of like...
I'm just waiting for the moment.
I'm
just waiting for the moment where I hear in Keanu Reeves' voice, I love Latina Sonic.
Yeah.
There's
I love
actually an
Latina Sonic.
animation of Shadow, like, as Kiana, with, like, during the scene was like, I love you! I was like, I love you too, random person.
Wake the fuck up, Hedgehog.
Oh, no, you're
I love you
beautiful.
too.
Stevie the
You're
Bird.
beautiful. You're breathtaking. You're all
You're
breathtaking.
Hold
Yeah.
on, let me see. I'm gonna see if I can't find that real quick while we read this.
I've seen
So, like, I'll
it
put it in
several
the
times.
chat.
Oh, you mean
Oh,
the
you have?
Sonic
Oh, okay.
version? No,
Oh, okay. Shem, have you seen it?
it was
Sonic the Hedgehog.
literally him coming out and talking about Cyberpunk. If that's what you were referencing,
Yeah.
I was talking.
Yeah,
about.
yeah.
I remember the original, not the meme they made. Anyway,
The original. Yep.
dude, the amount of
While
memes
she
that
had-
Keanu has spawned. Oh, did you know that yesterday? No, it's actually today. Funny we're talking about that. Today is Keanu Reeves' birthday.
Oh, cool. Should we
Ooh,
bake him a
fun.
cake?
Well, actually, hang on. Let's see.
It should be a Shadow the Hedgehog themed cake.
No, don't do that. How old is Keanu Reeves? Are you kidding me? Are you fucking kidding me?
How
That
old is
can't
he?
be true. Also, it's my dad's birthday, my biological father. He's not alive. Hasn't
Oh,
been
cool.
alive for a long, long time. But
Oh.
yeah, he died when I was 10, dude. It's been
Oh.
like 32 years since he died.
Oh, that's
But,
news to me.
well,
My
you want
condolences.
to hear something? You want to hear something totally crazy?
Huh?
Keanu's age?
Keanu Reeves turned 60 today.
Wow.
Man,
The
that man
looks
look
very
good
for 60.
for 60.
Right? Dude,
He takes very
dude
good
looks
care of
like he's
himself.
in
That's
his
nice.
40s, my guy.
Yeah.
I would
That's
say
great.
like 37, maybe. Like
Keanu
that
Reeves.
like the
Not with,
last picture
not
I
with
saw
that
from
amount of
him.
gray hair. Not with that amount of gray hair in his beard. No.
Okay, maybe
like
I
to
didn't
meet
see a
that guy.
picture of him with
That'd be
gray
cool.
hair. Hang on, let me actually look him up real
It's
quick.
so crazy. I love how cool Keanu is, though.
Yeah, he seems like a cool guy.
Keanu Reeves.
Seems to be enjoying his life and doing stuff and voicing hedgehogs.
Oh,
so that's
okay,
He was
cool.
yeah,
born-
no, that seems about right.
He
I
was
looked at the
born
picture.
September 2nd, 1964,
Wow.
in
In
Beirut,
his
Lebanon.
60s.
Wow. That's
Keanu
insane.
Charles Reeves, whose first name means "cool breeze over the mountains" in Hawaii.
He is pretty cool.
He is very much the
Oh my-
embodiment of a cool breeze over the mountains, my dude.
Oh
Yeah,
my God, he's
very
so
chill.
goddamn cool.
Yeah.
He is, though.
All right, let's finish up.
Put it in
Let's
the other
wrap up
way.
here.
And while she had some familiarity with the geography of the Demon Continent, it was dangerous to journey there alone. If she wanted a safe route, then the northern region would be the best, but that was exactly why she had to go to one of the other two. She could find a party and journey to one of those two regions instead. Good. Now that she had made up her mind, there was no point in lingering here. She would head for the Dragon King's eastern port. From there, she would look for a party heading for either the Begarit continent or the Demon continent. Once that was settled, Roxy moved swiftly. She finished the preparations for her journey and set out from the refugee camp. Strangely, just getting a move on was enough to lift the veil of sadness. Not just that, but her belief that Rudius was still alive strengthened with each step. I want to sit at the table with all of them again. Even just once more, she thought as her feet took her south. That was the beginning of Roxy Magrudia's long journey. Oh, there's an extra chapter. Neat.
Yay! All right, so we're at the extra chapter now, right?
Yeah,
You ready to hear about the forest goddess?
the forest goddess, yeah.
No.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20 pages. It's
a
20
long-ass
pages.
extra chapter.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. So it ends at page 252. That's what
Okay.
you actually have to make it to.
Okay.
But we start at 232. So it's, or I'm sorry, not 232. We start at 233. So it's actually 19 pages with no
Okay.
images. And here's the thing.
Yes.
We can finish this, but I'm gonna make you read it. But
Okay.
it's a side story
Mm-hmm.
that just tells what happened to Ghislaine.
Okay.
This is Ghislaine's
You know
story.
what? It feels appropriate
Where
for
she
him.
was.
This is Ghislaine's
Okay.
story. She is the forest goddess.
Okay.
She's like, what happened to Ghislaine?
Now we can
I am
stop
curious
here.
about how she got there.
Well, we can stop
Yeah.
here and we can save it for next week because it's such a
Mhm.
long amount of stuff. Because this is
Mhm.
19 fucking pages, my dude. But
Yeah.
it's the last 8% of this book.
Yeah.
And we would be starting volume 3 next week, regardless of whether we read it here or whether we read it next week. But
I
it's
see.
after 10,
Yes.
and I don't know if we'd be able to pull this off in 23 minutes.
I can certainly try.
All right, go for it then, my dude.
Okay.
No interruptions, so
All right.
mute thyself. Sorry.
Extra chapter. The Forest Goddess. Directly east of the Asura Kingdom and just over the mountains, right in the middle of the central continent, there was a sphere of many tiny nations fighting each other for dominion over the region. This place, where countries were built only to meet their demise shortly thereafter and be rebuilt once more, was called the conflict zone by the locals. One of the small countries in the conflict zone was the Markian mercenary country. Established by the great mercenary whose name it bore, it became a warlike nation that based its economy on dispatching mercenaries to neighboring countries. There was a pub nestled in one of Markian's corners. There, one mercenary was bragging to one another about one of the scars atop his shoulder. Look at this scar. I've got this during the defense of Rudomen. Oh, what a battle. That was hard fought, huh? Where were you stationed? Oz Fort's Eastern Gate. That place was hell. I was damn close to losing my wonderful beloved right arm here. Hell doesn't even begin to describe what happened there. I heard you guys were flanked and had your forces devastated. Not that much different from what happened to you guys in the defensive battle, Rudomen. I heard you guys had your supply routes cut off so you didn't even have food. Markian mercenary countries supported all other nations equally and without discrimination. The mercenaries they dispatched were incredibly feared. Their troops were great warriors, their commanders calm and collected, and their tacticians excelled at military tactics. Once they entered battle, they led their allies to victory without fail. They were a symbol of triumph and fear on the battlefield. That was what it meant to be a Markian mercenary. It's incredible we made it out of there alive. Well, that's what you call the grace of the Force, goddess. One of the mercenaries retrieved a pendant from his breast pocket. There was a relief carved into the wood, the profile of a woman with animal-like ears. Seeing this, the other mercenary unsheathed the short sword at his side. The blade was dyed red with paint. Then, a toast to the Force goddess Leyen. May we be the victors in the coming battles as well. Cheers. With their items in one hand and wine cups in the other, the two mercenaries drank every last drop of alcohol. That was their way of praying. Ah, that's some good stuff. Yeah, gotta have some alcohol after battle. Marking stuff is the best around. And women, too. Shall we hit up the brothel after this, then? Let's keep that part a secret from the goddess. The night wore on as the two merrily shared drinks. The forest goddess Lane was the god of the Markian mercenaries. According to legend, she was the goddess of salvation who appeared 100 years ago when the Markian mercenary country was on the verge of collapse. Her guidance was of one of the country's legendary commander-in-chiefs rescue the country from disaster. Thanks to that legend, many of Markian's mercenaries believed that when they were on the verge of death, the forest goddess would appear out of nowhere and save them. That was why they prayed to her. However, strangely enough, there was only one country in the entire world that believed in the forest goddess Lane, and that was the Markian mercenary country. Why was it only this particular country that had such a custom? The answer was one interesting story indeed. Year 417 of the Armored Dragon. It was the year of the displacement incident in the Asura Kingdom. Not 2 years had passed since the mercenary king Markian proclaimed the establishment of the fledgling Markian mercenary country. The country was on the verge of collapse and facing a crisis. This wasn't a rare occurrence. In the conflict zone, small countries were established and destroyed all the time. People would wait an opportune chance to build their own country, with the ambition of taking over the whole region and creating an even greater country, only for that dream to be shattered and fragmented. Markian mercenary country was just another casualty of that cycle. A disorganized nation about to meet the same fate. Nothing more, nothing less. Still, nothing happened without a cause. Their first step down the path of their destruction was diplomacy. The country, whose economy was based around deploying mercenaries, possessed a national and military power beyond what was expected of a developing country. Yet, that was the very cause of their problem. The two countries in closest contact to Markian, Dekudo Kingdom and the Bros Empire, were deeply wary of the mercenary country. They schemed against it, and when diplomatic relations broke down, both countries proclaimed war upon Markian simultaneously. Although it was a mercenary country, it was powerless against the combined might of two other nations. Markian made a show of fierce resistance, but it lost half its territory after the sudden surrender of an important fortress and the loss of numerous large battles. There was no future for the country. Those mercenaries who thought as much fled to other countries or turned traitor. What was to become the decisive battle, which would afterward become known as the site of Markian's final battle, took place in a large basin. Markian gathered its military strength and took position against the two allied countries. Up to that point, the two countries had launched their attacks separately, but the basin was an important landmark with forests infested with monsters on either side. This restricted their ability to maneuver through it. They had to band together. That was also why the basin was such a key point. Once Markian fell, the other two countries would need to control this point to seize power over the area around the capital. Additionally, once that was over, it was easy to imagine the conflict that would then break out between the Dekudo Kingdom and the Bros Empire. Markian had already tried to capitalize on the fraught nature of the relationship between those two countries, but their military strength was reduced to the point where they had little ability to put up any meaningful opposition. They had their hands full just trying to keep the country from collapsing. Bigot Mercenal, the captain of the 3rd Unit of Markian's mercenary company, led 10 of his men into the depths of the forest. Asian Forest, as it was called, was infested with monsters. Since time immemorial, the ruler of this area had forbidden passage through it, or so those who lived nearby unanimously declared. Woodcutters even refused to enter Asian Forest. This meant passing through with troops it was impossible. Even in the current battle, Markian's 2 enemy countries avoided approaching the forest. King Markian decided to take advantage of that. Their troops would break through the forest and launch a surprise attack on one of their 2 enemies, a simple but effective plan. That said, Markian's military strength was not what it used to be. Just the act of invading the forest would reduce their numbers greatly when they were accosted by various beasts. Forgetting to launch a strong surprise attack, it seems they would only be squandering resources. That was where their strategy came into play. In the previous battle, they had secured several Burroughs Empire suits of armor. They would have some of their soldiers don these, then attack the Dakudo Empire from behind. The 2 countries had formed a temporary alliance until Markian was vanquished. Once that was over, the 2 would inevitably begin fighting over control for the land they had conquered. Even now, tensions ran high as both countries began considering what methods would be the most beneficial to them. It would only take one small push for their alliance to snap, creating conflict between them. That was Markian's aim. Bigot Mercenal, known for being daring and resolute, was put in charge of the operation. He would pass through the forest and launch a powerful sneak attack with a small company of mercenaries. It was an incredibly dangerous endeavor. They would not come back alive even if they succeeded. In fact, they might have to take their own lives to avoid capture. They couldn't bring anything that may give away their identity. No one could know who they were or where they came from. There was no honor to be had from this mission. Instead, they would die as traitors. Despite that, Bigot said to Markian, "Do not worry, for tales of us shall be passed on. We will live on as the heroes that led this country to victory during one of its great battles, just like the legendary twin gods Megas and Gumus. Is that not an honor by itself?" Bigot took on this duty, seeing the similarity between himself and the legendary heroes of 400 years ago who died in the battle against Laplace. He had 10 men under his command. 3 were intermediate tier North God style sword fighters, while the other 7 were mercenaries unassociated with the 3 sword god styles, or the 3 sword styles. Bigot himself was an advanced tier sword god style swordsman, but their group had no healer and none among them were particularly skilled. In these parts, magicians were valuable assets to parties, but since they were preparing for the final battle, Markian couldn't afford to assign any to a team of throwaway pawns. True victory meant the country had to both trigger warfare between its enemies, then capitalize on that opportunity and come out triumphant. Never thought I would be doing something like this, Bigot thought, laughing in self-derision. Bigot was destined to become a mercenary. He was born into a mercenary band. His father died in battle while his mother was pregnant with him, and his mother died in battle not long after he was born. He was sold as a slave and bought by what would eventually become the Markian Mercenary Company. That was where he learned about swordplay and battle. Ever since then, he had lived only for money and survival. He never dreamed that at the end of it all, he would be battling for honor. As if I'm a knight from some kingdom, he thought. Everyone knew knights were the only ones who died for honor, but then it occurred to Bigot. Maybe I am a knight of Markian. It made him proud to think that way. For the longest time, he hadn't belonged anywhere. It was only through great hardship that he had come to be able to call Markian his home. Now he would fight to protect it. He mocked those ideals in the past for being sappy, but now that he was in a similar position, they didn't seem so bad after all. Commander, just a little farther. Don't let your guard down. Now that we've come this far, we don't want to be killed by humans. True enough. Until that point, they had encountered few monsters. They had been walking the entire day and only had 2 run-ins. It was like a miracle. Despite that, he had lost one of his men. They had been moving as carefully as possible, but hidden in the overgrowth was a red-leaf tiger. It attacked, unseen, and 1 soldier died. But the beast was already heavily injured and seemed to be running from someone. The red-leaf tiger was the most fearsome of the beasts in this forest. Just who in the world could have done that? Could it be the person who rules over this forest? Bigot wondered. He had heard rumors of the forest ruler before. Corentosaurus, an A-class beast with a giant lizard-like body over 5 meters in length. He didn't know if it really existed or not, but if it did, it would surely be capable of leaving a B-class red-leaf tiger in critical condition. That also meant that if they were attacked by such a creature, neither he nor his 9 remaining men would get out unscathed. So he pressed on even more cautiously than before. Fortunately, he had experience maneuvering through a forest, enough to avoid encountering any monsters. If he happened to encounter any, he at least had the strength to kill it before it called for help. So long as they managed that, they would be fine. Sadly, Bigot and his men weren't the only ones who thought so. What? Before Bigot realized what was happening, he and his men had run into another group. This party numbered 10 as well. Together, they made a group of 20 men, all of them clad in armor of the Bros Empire. The only difference was that Bigot and his men were fakes. You there! Give us the name of your unit! A man clad in lustrous, striking armor stood before Bigot, demanding he identify himself. Draw your swords! Let none of them return alive! Bigot ignored the question and instead shouted at his men, who drew their swords and leaped at the enemy. Deserters, huh? Die! The Bros Empire commander labeled them thus after they launched their attack. He was mistaken, but that didn't change what had to be done. Kill them! Bros doesn't need cowards who run from battle. Bros soldiers were swift. God damn it! In the blink of an eye, two of Bigot's men who had been cut down. In mere moments, they were on the defensive. The Bros Empire's soldiers were incredibly skilled. He didn't know it at the time, but they were actually fighting against the Emperor's personal bodyguards. What were bodyguards doing here in the forest, away from the Emperor? It was because of something that happened an hour ago. The Bros Empire, or Emperor, was personally walking through their military camp to inspire his soldiers when a beast suddenly sprang out of the forest and attacked. The creature was quickly dispatched, but the Emperor sustained a small scratch from the struggle and was given medical treatment afterward. Still, the fact remained that he had been attacked right before his soldiers' very eyes. Sensing a drop in morale, the Emperor ordered his bodyguards to march. Go forth and fetch the hide of a great fierce beast, he commanded. Then he could claim that he fought the felled creature, and that was how he sustained such a wound. The bodyguards immediately set out in the forest. Mysteriously enough, they didn't encounter any beasts, but instead came upon Bigot and his party. Why, here... The strongest of Bigot's men were easily slain by Bros's bodyguards. I'm sure you already know, but I'm the captain of the Emperor's Guard, Klein de Noltus. Water Saint Klein. Do you seriously think you can win? Damn it! Cease your resistance and surrender, then you may at least have your lives. Bigot panicked. There was no way they could surrender. If they were caught and investigated, they would be exposed as pretenders. Markian would fail, or would fall. After that, the Bros Empire and the Dokudo Kingdom would fight. He didn't know who would win, but either way, the country he had such fond memories of would disappear. On the other hand, he had no other option. They were clearly outmatched, and if this continued any longer, the destruction would be inevitable. I'm sorry, Markian. Bigot apologized to the comrades he held in esteem within his heart. That was when it happened. A gigantic lizard came flying at them. Its body, all 5 meters of it, it was a vivid green, and its majestic form was riddled with open wounds, blood pouring out of them. Red bubbles came foaming out of its mouth as it moved between the two opposing groups and collapsed. Then, just a moment after that, a wild beast came leaping after it. This beast let out a fierce war cry as it landed upon the lizard's head and drove its sword through it. The lizard let out a final anguished cry before it died. There was no time for them to process what had just happened. Even after slaying the lizard, the wild beast didn't stop moving. It sprang to the ground and in the blink of an eye cut down 2 of the Emperor's bodyguards. What are you doing? For a moment, Bigot thought this had to be the rule of the forest. However, this wild beast had the form of a human, warm brown skin, fiery red hair, and 2 fully erect beast folk ears. It also held a sword that had a thin, one-sided blade that gleamed an eerie red color and had an inscription on it. Who are you? Yelled Klein, the captain of the bodyguards, as he stepped forward. The beast didn't answer. It merely responded to the presence of an enemy wielding a sword in front of it. Fight back! With a battle cry, the beast slashed at Klein. Klein was a water saint. The water god's style was a school of swordplay that allowed one to fend off any attack and launch a deadly counter in return. At least, that was supposed to be the case. The long sword of light. So, this is the sword god style? When the beast's sword met Klein, Klein's blade broke in 2. Then a split formed in Klein's armor as the attack sundered his clothing, skin, muscle, and finally bone in succession. That was when Klein's lower and upper halves separated. The Bros and bodyguards didn't even flinch as their commander's torso fell in front of them with a wet thud. How dare you? Our commander! We'll avenge him! They were all sword fighters of intermediate tier and either the water god or sword god style. They were undeniably strong, and yet the beast howled. With each swing of its blood-red blade, one by one these men were vivisected. The beast moved like a flash of light. Its voice was enough to make one recoil. No one was any match for it. In moments, the entire guard was wiped out. Bigot and his men couldn't even move. They had no idea what had happened. The beast had appeared out of nowhere and in an overwhelming show of strength destroyed everything in its path. But why? For what purpose? It was looking their way. Reason had fled from its eyes that now fixated on Bigot and his men, full of bloodlust, amplifying their fear. The clothes it wore were revealing, but terror overwhelmed any sense of attraction they may have felt. That was right. This beast was a woman. It had a woman's form. As soon as he realized that, the gears turned in the back of Bigot's mind. It was the story of the sword saint that taught him swordplay. The sword saint was a just and honorable warrior of the sword god style, who had trained in the Holy Land of Swords. They wouldn't tell him why they decided to become a mercenary, but they did talk about their prior training experience. One of the other people there was violent, wouldn't listen to anyone. She was almost like a mad dog. She surpassed me and became a sword king, but she wasn't a bad person, just an idiot. Everyone hated her because she lost control in extreme situations and went mad, attacking everyone, whether they be friend or foe. The sword fighter in that tale was the woman in front of him now. The description fit exactly. By any chance, he called out to her as he slipped into the god's sword-style bow his teacher had taught him, bending to one knee and tucking his head forward, showing respect and submission. Are you the Sword King, Lady Ghislaine de Doldia? The moment he said that, the beast stilled. After a short time, Ghislaine regained her sense of reason. I have often heard rumors, but I never dreamed that I would meet you in a place like this. She didn't respond to his words. Instead, she glared at him with her bloodshot eyes and questioned him very matter-of-factly. You there. Have you seen a girl around 12 years old with pure red hair? Or a boy of about 10 who's a proficient mage? No, I haven't. He shook his head, thinking her words over. A red-haired girl of approximately 12, a magician boy of approximately 10. He had seen many slaves like that in his life, but none of them around this area. Besides, this was the Aegean Forest. It was a place filled with beasts. Why did she think there would be children in a place like this? I see. Sorry to get in your way. Ghislaine began walking away. After a few steps, she suddenly stopped and looked back, her head cocked. By the way, where is this? Bigot, too, cocked his head. He told her that she was in a conflict zone, located on the northernmost part of the southern half of the central continent. He then explained they were in a forest within the northern part of Markian mercenary country. Bigot and his men were in the middle of an operation. They didn't really have the luxury of time to explain, but she had just spared their lives, and if they upset her, they might be next. This was his attempt at crisis management. Impossible. Ghislaine was in disbelief. She didn't understand how she ended up here. Bigot asked for the details of her situation. She had been acting as a bodyguard for a young girl in Asura Kingdom's Fatoa region when they were attacked. Before she knew what was happening, she had been swallowed by some light and ended up in this forest. As she fought hordes of monsters, she lost herself in the excitement of battle and turned into a berserker that killed anything that came near her. In any case, this is the conflict zone's Markian mercenary country. Make no mistake about it. So it is. Ghislaine stopped to think. Bigot had no idea what she was talking about. After 5 long seconds, she finally looked up at the sky. Then I have to go south to return to Asura. Using the sun to guide her, she turned straight south. This was the same direction that Bigot and his men were headed. But please wait. There's an enemy camp set up in that direction. And what about it? What about it? I mean, what are you planning to do? Anyone who gets in my way gets cut down. That's all. There was a ferocity in her eyes that made him doubt if she was still in possession of reason. Bigot had no words. Just what had her so stirred up? Hopefully Rudius is with Lady Eris. But there's a chance they were both transported somewhere else, just like I was. I have to hurry. After hearing that, he understood. We're not that different, he thought. Those 2 children, particularly the red-haired girl, were more important than anything to the Sword King. She was desperate to protect that which was precious to her. In that case, why don't we travel part of the way together? We also have something to take care of in that direction. Very well. For some reason, Bigot felt particularly proud. Although their objectives differed, he felt like he was standing side by side with the Sword King, fighting for something he wanted to protect. Bigot, his men, and Ghislaine slipped out from the forest and attacked the Dakudo Kingdom from behind. Their luck was good. As soon as the battle with Markian began, all the troops were focused on what was in front of them. The Bros Emperor found it suspicious that his bodyguards had failed to return. He suspected the Dakudo Kingdom was planning an ambush for his troops, and that his bodyguards had been killed after discovering their plot. After all, the Dakudo King's main army was close to the forest. It seemed likely they had troops hiding further within. In truth, the Dakudo King was a coward, and had camped with his back to the forest so he wouldn't be caught in a surprise attack by the Bros Empire. The combination of these factors would later lead to Bigot's success. Ghislaine howled, and Bigot let out a fierce cry as he led his men into battle. They charged right into the enemy camp where the Dakudo king's tent was set up. The king was startled by their surprise attack. Seeing their armor, he immediately thought the Bros Emperor had launched a sneak attack from the forest. He hailed a nearby attendant and commanded an assault on the Bros Empire. Then he tried to take shelter from the chaos. It was only 10 seconds later when Ghislaine tore the Dakudo king asunder with her blade, killing him. If he had lived, he might have realized Bigot and his men were not of the Bros Empire and retracted his orders, but an imperial edict had absolute power. The Dakudo kingdom surged into battle against the Bros Empire. The Bros Empire had predicted such an attack would come, so while they were caught off guard by its timing, they were able to put up a fight. That was when the Markian mercenary country took up arms. It was a three-pronged free-for-all. Bigot found himself surrounded by enemies, but he was still alive. It was his mission to die, deceiving the Dakudo kingdom into thinking his attack was a work of the Bros Empire. But yet still clung to life. He and his men had already been separated, and the only ally close to him was a single fighter. There, right in front of him, he followed in the shadow of her tanned back as the light of her sword flashed, cutting through the enemy. He had never seen such a reliable figure before. He felt so proud to be protecting her flank. At least they could no longer see the armor of the Dakudo kingdom around them. Instead, they were surrounded by soldiers of the Bros Empire. While the Empire was surprised by the intrusion of a woman with a blood-red blade, they had watched her cut down the Dakudo kingdom's men and noticed Bigot protecting her flank in his Bros armor. They mistook Bigot and Ghislaine for allies. That was when Markians surged in. The two allied countries were shaken as the battle started up behind them. Not only had their bond alliance broken, but their formations as well. Markian, which should have been at a disadvantage, broke through their front lines. Chaotic battle ensued. Amidst the violent fighting, Bigot became separated from Ghislaine, but managed to rejoin his comrades. Shouts of joy rang out from the Markian mercenaries as they recognized Bigot and took up a firm position around him. Instead of falling back, Bigot remained on the front lines and kept on fighting. The battle raged on, the soldiers covered in mud and blood, not fully aware of what was happening around them. Bigot took an arrow in his left eye. Anguished, he searched for the bowman responsible. That was when he saw it. He watched as it happened. Below an eye-catching banner, dressed in luxurious Bros armor, was a man with a black beard. Bigot saw the flash of red as that man, the Emperor Bros, had his head sliced off by a brown-skinned woman. He laughed, and as he laughed, the battle wore on, and he lived. The final battle ended in victory for the Markian mercenary country. Thanks to his achievements, Bigot Mercenal earned the position of general. He was celebrated as a legendary hero for having succeeded in a suicide mission and for executing Dakudo's king. After that, Bigot Mercenal continued to do spectacular work that resulted in him being known as one of the most outstanding great generals of the Markian mercenary country. That, however, is a story for another time. Once that decisive battle was over, the great General Bigot started doing something strange. He started wearing a necklace that had the profile of a female beast folk chiseled into it, and began painting the blade of his sword red. It's a good luck charm. His men began to imitate him, and those who heard their tale followed suit. These customs continued spreading until they took their modern-day shape. When asked what kind of good luck charm it was, Bigot responded thus: I was helped by a goddess during that battle. I'm following her example. It was from his words from the forest goddess Lane was created. The name Ghislaine was difficult for those on the southern part of the central continent to pronounce, and so her name, altered by their accents, became Lane. She appeared from the forest, rescuing the life of the great general, becoming the goddess of salvation, forest goddess Ghislaine. For the next 100 years, she was worshipped as Markian's goddess of protection, providing support to the hearts of many soldiers. Of course, the real Ghislaine had no knowledge of this designation. Where did Ghislaine go after that? Was she still alive? Did she survive that battle and go on home to Asura Kingdom? Was she able to meet that precious young mistress of hers again? Bigot Mercenal had no way of knowing. Character design concept gallery.
All right, good stuff, guys. Good.
Without the author.
All right, now you guys know the backstory on what happened to Ghislaine after she was teleported.
That's awesome. She just fucked shit up and became a goddess.
Yeah, guys,
nice.
if you want to take a look at the concept art, you can. I mean, it's stuff you've seen from the anime.
I don't know who she is.
You don't
That's
know?
Cool,
okay,
though.
That's okay.
Yeah, who is she? I don't know who this person is.
Refugee no na Maganote.
Oh my god, I can't wait to see who this. I've never seen this girl before in my life.
I have never met this girl. Not once.
Nope, not once in my life.
Never.
All right,
Never.
so that is volume 2. We are done with it, and at 10:31, so on time. Wow,
she
you
seems
pulled
like
it off.
such a little brat, actually.
Thanks.
Yeah. We will be starting on. We'll be starting on volume 3 next week. By the way, I want you guys to know the translation for this one. Some things I can do easily, but some things I can do easily, but you can't do at all. And some things you do effortlessly, I could never manage. That's all there is to it. Look, getting a
So
job is hard,
basically,
okay?
anything I can do better.
I'm sorry, I'm just reading.
No, that's not what that means. That's not what that means. God damn it. You took the exact opposite of what he was saying. Some things I can do easily, but you can't do at all. And some things you do effortlessly, I could never manage. It's literally him saying the same two things. He goes, that's all there is to it. And then the translation, look, getting a job is hard, okay?
Fuck.
Yeah.
There's a massive
So
difference.
we will start next week in the demon continent. There we go. Well, actually, the start will be with a horribly shady figure that we hate a lot.
With a bunch of red flags.
Oh yeah, it's gonna start with red flags everywhere.
About the author.
About
There's,
the author.
There's
All right.
about the author. It says
They're not
loves
crimson,
fighting
but
games
they're
and
there.
cream puffs. Understood.
All right.
Relatable.
That's
What a champ. I love you.
I forget what it was. Oh, there was a short. There was a YouTube short that I saw. It was literally a PowerPoint of this guy's wife telling him like doing a PowerPoint on why they should have a baby, right?
Oh.
And so
Okay.
literally she goes, "Okay, point 1, clicks over. Cream pies." And then he just immediately picks her up and carries her to the bedroom. I'm like, God damn it, dude.
Minister of the ex
How
prime
many
minister
other
of Japan,
slides
or the
did she
deceased
have
one,
if that didn't work?
just sheds a
Right.
single tear.
All right. So, that being the case, guys, we will see you next week. It means he's going to steal your vocal cords. Oh, no. Oh, no. Oh, no. I will
no.
read the intro for next week.
Yeah.
And we'll go from there as to what
Yeah.
we're going to do. But guys, thank you so much for coming by and hanging out with us. Shem is now in charge of the YouTube channel. Shem, tell me, did I upload last week's episode to the channel at all?
Well, see, the thing about that, I wasn't able to actually get in because I needed a 6-digit password or a 6-digit number.
Okay, log in and
So,
I'll send it to you. We'll do that
yeah.
afterwards. We'll do that afterwards. All right.
Yeah, because it does a security thing. So
Yeah. It'll send it to my phone. We're all good. All right, guys, thank you so much. Keep an eye on the YouTube channel, and we'll get to it. Wow. Actually, funny enough, this is probably the most we've done, like, pure reading for Mushoku Tensei without, like, all the interruptions and stuff. And the times that we did kind of interrupt, we were talking about Mushoku Tensei.
I mean, it's on
Yeah.
context, on point. It's
Well,
fine.
actually, no, there was the Keanu Reeves spiel.
Keanu Reeves
For the
big
most part.
chungus.
For the most part. Anyhow.
Yeah.
And that was in between. I don't count that. Like, that wasn't an actual interruption. We were on a break.
What's the, I don't know if we
I
said
don't remember
break.
anymore.
Yeah.
I don't remember. I'm counting it as not because I want to. Anyhow.
Okay.
I'm still counting it.
Well, fuck you. I don't care. It's not
Fuck-
your
fuck me,
opinion.
fuck you.
It's not your opinion. All right. So
It is my opinion, actually.
Now go fuck yourself. All right. So
Anywho.
who are we gonna raid? Oh my God! Could we? Wow! Iron Mouse is having a subathon. That's interesting. Can
That's
we
pretty
raid?
cool.
Can we raid Mousy? That is the question. You're unable to raid Iron Mouse. Yeah, we can't raid Iron Mouse.
Why not?
That's I
We're
don't
not,
know.
because
we're
we're
not
too-
good enough.
Apparently,
for-
smart.
she's only available to be raided by certain people or something. I guess I don't know.
Maybe her friends or people she's close with. That makes
Yeah.
sense.
Ooh, we could raid
Yeah.
Lost Paws.
Okay.
Ooh.
Let's All right, so we're
Now
gonna
that's
do.
a name I
We're gonna
haven't heard
do.
for in a long time.
We're gonna do the Rudius raid, if it lets us. But we're gonna do the Rudius raid.
Ugh.
Yes, it lets us. All right, so everybody, Rudius raid because we just got done with Mushoku Tensei light novel reading, so that's how it's gonna be. All right, you guys ready?
Yeah.
Guys, take care and have a good
Ow.
one. We'll see you next time.
Yeah.
Bye
Bye, thanks for coming.
Bye.
So long and thanks for all the
Bye.
fish.
Mm.
Oh, I'm stuck in an ad. Great. Well.